If you have any last words, now is the time. Dracarys!
We are the sword in the darkness. We are the shield that guards the realms of men. We are Game of Microphones.
Seven blessings, fallen dragons, and abandoned direwolves, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, the Devastated.
And I'm Lady Rachel of House Fox, the Employed.
And this is episode 116.
On this episode, we're covering Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 4, The Last of the Starks.
The Last of the Starks. And in case you're not already aware, this is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen all the way up through Season 8, Episode 4. If not, there's still time to be callously sent away to the north without a lick of affection, or allowed to have your life taken away prematurely by kraken-shaped ballistas because your mother refused to give you any protection. So you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Really, this episode is just about terrible pet owners.
Oh my god. I almost turned it off when he left Ghost.
I was so mad about that. I said it at the beginning of the live show, and I'll say it again. That lost John my vote for King in the North. Or for King.
I cannot accept that.
Yeah. One of our listeners, Sir Mihai of the Lambdas, of the tensors and lambdas, in his feedback this week, said that maybe, you know how they say when you die and you come back, you lose a piece of yourself? Mm-hmm. He was speculating that maybe John lost some of his empathy or something like that. But
maybe
if that was true, then why would he even care if the dead won? You know, like, it's not like he cares. He would have empathy for any of the people who'd be killed or anything like that. So.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting
I'm sure
thought.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, he said he noticed that after he was revived, he sort of seemed cold toward Ghost ever since then.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's really sad. It really upset me. I didn't like that at all.
Well, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
I'm sorry for my absence last week. I started my new job and I was traveling. So thank you so much to Princess Sarah for stepping in. You did an amazing job.
Yeah, great job. It was good having her too, and glad to have you back. Glad your job's going well and that things are going great. Good to hear it.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into our top 5. How about we start with you, since you haven't been on in a week?
All right. My number 5 is Sir Gendry of House Baratheon.
Lord Gendry.
Oh, that's right. Lord Gendry. What am I talking about? That's
my number 5 too. We're on the same page, Lady Rachel.
Nice. Cool. We're back in sync.
Yep. Like nothing changed.
Do you want to just start at the beginning of this scene?
Sure. I have it starting with Gendry asking, "Where's Arya? Have you seen Arya?"
Yes, that's where I started too.
Perfect.
So he's looking around and he's with the Hound and he's looking for that hot piece of ass that he had gotten the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's scanning the crowd, and I think he's surprised that she's not there. And
Right, the hero of Winterfell. She should be reveling in the glory of her magnificent victory, right?
yeah, but that's not her.
There you go.
So he asked the Hound, he's like, have you seen Arya? And the Hound's great response, you can still smell the burning bodies, and that's where your head's at? And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It's like, why shouldn't it be where your head's at? They're all dead. You're not. It's only natural.
You stupid twat.
Stupid twat. I always count on the Hound for his abrasive, attitude, pushing people away.
I know.
So funny.
Yeah. So Gendry's like, okay, I'm done with you.
Yep.
He gets up and he starts walking towards the front of the room, and he catches Dany's eye. She goes, Gendry?
And he kind of stops his tracks.
Yeah. And she's like, that's right, isn't it? And he goes, yes, Your Grace. Like, where is this going? I'm kind of scared.
I was scared too. He's the son of the usurper who she's hated for her whole life.
And I was surprised that she knew his name, and I'm surprised that she knew that he was Robert's bastard. I was kind of curious what you thought, how she kind of gathered that information. I was thinking maybe Varys told her.
Maybe Varys. John could have told her in passing, when or maybe, he wasn't there when she saved them from Beyond the Wall, but I'm sure she heard about his marathon run back from Beyond the Wall to pass the information,
possibly.
and probably learned who he was as a result of his heroic efforts there and during the battle at
That's
Winterfell.
true.
I'm just guessing, though,
Yeah, I was just, the story is moving so fast, and I don't really have a problem with that because we don't need a lot of filler at this point, in my opinion, in season 8 of this show.
Sure.
But there's a little bit of holes like this where I wish we had more time to kind of develop where did Dany get that information?
Oh yeah. I mean, if we had more time, it would be awesome. Of course.
Yeah. But we'll get it in the book. So I'm not really too concerned about where she got this information. The fact is that she has it. So.
Yeah. It's funny, too. She says Gendry, and the hall goes silent because everybody in there is probably thinking exactly what we're thinking. Like, oh, fuck. It's on. Even John, and she's like, you're Robert Baratheon's son. And he kind of looks over, and it cuts to Davos and John looking at each other, nervous.
And then John looks over at Dany
yeah, where's this going? It's funny. This scene is amazing. There's so much stuff going on, and they managed to capture so many different telling glances between people that tell you so much.
They do such a good job with that in the show. I go back to the dragon pit scene where
last season.
Yeah, the cuts of the camera, while they were completely kind of unnecessary to tell the story, they enhanced the story so much, and it made me personally feel like I was there, witnessing all these people kind of I say it all the time. It's the nonverbal stuff in the show that just makes it so rich for me.
Yeah, totally. And mentioning that dragon pit scene, this is version 2.0 of that, like you said, with all the different expressions and glances and stuff like that. Really well done.
Because I was thinking to myself, there's no way that she's going to execute this person. He just survived the battle of Winterfell.
He forged the dragon glass weapons,
Yeah, he was a critical, integral part. And I know that Arya's weapon wasn't the weapon that killed the Night King, but the weapon that he forged for her allowed her to get through enough dead people to place her in a spot where she was able to kill the Night King. So he played such a pivotal role in this whole success. So I know Dany has, I feel like she's changing a little bit not this episode, but this season. I feel like she's getting a little bit colder. She's pulling back a little bit. I think she feels very out of place in the North.
Yes.
And she doesn't get that same kind of love that she got back in Essos, which she actually kind of goes into a little bit with John.
Yeah, she does.
We'll get to that. But I feel that. So I'm a little afraid for her development moving forward.
So is Varys.
Yeah, I get where Varys is coming from. For sure. I'm concerned about her being able to kind of keep herself in check, if you will. So I was kind of afraid at first. And then I kind of realized as he was answering, especially after he said, well, I didn't find out until after he was dead. I kind of realized that maybe she wasn't going to like execute him.
Yeah.
I think she was, you know, making it feel that way. But I felt like there was something else behind Dany there that wasn't evil.
Yeah, you can't tell at first because she's just like, you are aware he took my family's throne and tried to have me murdered. And Gendry's probably in his head like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. He's like, I didn't even know him. I didn't know him. He was my father until after he was dead. Please don't kill me.
I'm sorry.
And oh my God, I love this. She's like, yes, he's dead. His brothers are too. So who's Lord of Storm's End now? And it was at that moment when I knew that Gendry was about to be legitimized.
Yeah, because like, why would you bring up Storm's End? Like, no one cares about Storm's End.
Oh my God.
To the point, no one's even tried to like take it for themselves.
Yeah.
It's just sitting out there.
It was so good. I was so excited. We'd called this for so long that Gendry would be legitimized, and we called that he would hook up with Arya at least, you know, like they would get together at least for a little bit at least, you know. So it was really fun seeing this come to fruition and the look on Gendry's face and everything coming up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was wondering okay, so there is no Lord of Storm's End. But
the last Lord of Storm's End was Renly Baratheon, as far as I know.
So is it vacant?
It may be vacant, or there may be, you know, members of the household, like not Baratheons, but people like local people that lived within the walls or whatever. There's probably still people around, but there's no Baratheons. And he's like, so she's like, who's Lord of Storm's End now? And he's like, I don't know, Your Grace. And she's like, does
anybody know?
And it's just silent. Oh my God.
Oh God. And I love it so much. She's like, I think you should be the Lord of Storm's End. And I was like, yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Such a brilliant performance by Gendry too. You see like a slight flicker of a smile on his face, just so slightly.
And his eyes kind of light up, but then he's like, wait a second, that can't happen. I'm a bastard. And I love how it pans over to Jon. Right when he says I'm a bastard. Yeah, it pans right over to Jon, and he kind of glances back at Gendry, and they share like this little moment together and she goes, well, no, you are Lord Gendry, you know, Baratheon of Storm's End, the lawful son of Robert Baratheon, because that is what I have made you. And I was like, damn, oh my God.
So awesome. Davos jumps up with his drink.
I know. So we have a lot of like awesome things. I mean, don't get me wrong. The last episode was terrible. And I know I sent you my reaction videos, Duncan.
Terrible, like painful to watch, because I know you enjoyed the episode.
Yes. Terrible as in painful to watch. It was a great episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it, as you could see from my reaction videos that I sent you. Since I couldn't record this week, you guys, I recorded myself watching the episode and I sent some clips to Duncan, which I've given him permission to share if he so chooses.
How can I resist if you give me permission?
I am like a freak when I watch this show.
So funny. Oh man, I'll try to do picture in picture and like pop up what's happening on the bottom of the screen so people can see, you know.
I think I told you, because I gave you the best part. I mean, I videotaped the whole episode, but I edit it.
Yeah, you mentioned what the parts are, and I'll be able to look at the waveforms and line them up. Yeah,
so you can see how emotional I was, from like, what the fuck is happening, to screaming, oh my God, you're a fucking asshole, Night King, to bawling my eyes out. So,
yep.
You know, it's great that they have this kind of moment, and we get kind of Gendry getting this amazing castle. We get Brienne getting knighted a couple episodes ago. They have survived the battle, and I'm such a sucker, Duncan. I got so sucked into this whole like party scene that like the second half of this episode for me was like a total mind fuck.
Oh man.
Like I totally got lost in the happiness of it. And then I was completely like snapped back into reality when Rhaegal fell from the sky. And I was just like, oh my God.
Talking
I'm
about like
so gullible.
Yeah, snap back into reality too. They're like flying along and the music is so triumphant as we're seeing Rhaegal like he's starting to fly symmetrically again, like his wings are moving properly as opposed to earlier, and everything is good and the music is swelling, and then that bolt just flies out of nowhere and hits him in the chest, and the music
It's
just
like right in his
stops.
heart. I know. And then he gets hit again through the wing, and then one goes like, straight through his fucking neck. Oh my God.
And a big gout of blood shoots right out his mouth. And like his head is like, like after the first arrow hits him in the chest, you can see he's already starting to lose motor function as his head starts like wobbling around and he tips. And then it hits his wing and he looks over at his wing like,
I hate it. I hate it. I hated every second of it. And I was just like, I felt so gullible in that moment because I was so wrapped up in all of this triumphant happiness.
Right.
I mean, I know that we did have the funeral, and I felt like this moment, making Gendry the Lord of Storm's End, kind of was Dany's way of giving the people permission to party and be happy. Because before that, everyone was just kind of like swirling their drink around and like sipping, and no one was really like having a good time. So it's, it's kind of hard to have a good time because they just burned like thousands of bodies outside.
Right. That's a great point.
I felt like this was kind of her like, hey, you guys, like, he's a hero. He forged all these weapons. He fought. He's a bastard of the usurper. Like, who really fucking cares right now? Like, we should all be happy to be alive. We should all be happy to be alive.
Yeah.
So I felt like this was the turning point to where we get like the great drinking scenes with Tormund and Brienne and everybody. So
you were taken in by this and lulled into a sense of complacency. Whereas I was watching it, and the more people started smiling, the more uncomfortable I was getting. You know, like Brienne is like like while they're doing the drinking game, just like hugest smile on her face ever, and I was like, fuck, like this is not going to be good. Something bad is going to happen.
I knew that maybe something bad was going to happen, but I was not expecting to have a dragon killed and for Jon to abandon Ghost and for Missandei to get her head cut off. Jesus. I mean, like, I was not anticipating anything like that. I figured maybe that we would start kind of marching down to King's Landing and maybe something would happen and we would lose somebody, but I was not expecting it to be that intense after this scene for sure.
I was not either. I mean, it definitely caught me off guard when Rhaegal got hit, and I never in 100 million years would have imagined that Missandei would be captured. That was shocking.
It was
completely
awful.
Shocking. Yeah.
Man.
Great writing.
Yeah. So Sir Davos stands up and he's like, to Lord Gendry, Baratheon of Storm's End, and
everybody
Davos with his
stands
Baratheons.
up. I know he loves Baratheons. We were talking about this in the live show, I think, where we're speculating that he would probably end up going to Storm's End with Gendry and serving him there. That's fitting, right? I mean, I
totally agree. I don't see Davos staying in the north if he survives.
Right. He's always been loyal to Baratheon. Like, that's his identity. So if there's a new Baratheon that he can serve, he's going to be on board right off the bat. And he's the first one to stand up. He's the one that saved Gendry from saved him from Melisandre, sent him back to King's Landing. He's the one that went and saved him from King's Landing before the shit was hitting the fan and extracted him over to Dragonstone. Like, he has a bond with this man, and it's I am foreseeing them working together if they survive.
I agree. I think they're a good little duo.
Yeah, definitely.
We've seen they've crossed paths a number of times. I completely agree with that he will follow Gendry wherever he may go moving forward.
So everyone's celebrating, and Tyrion kind of leans over to Dany. A fitting reward for a hero, and a Lord of Storm's End who will be forever loyal to you. And Dany responds, see, You're not the only one who's clever. Like all smug.
Did you notice that Sansa
Yes.
looked over at her
She
when
was
she said
looking
that?
over at Tyrion, watching Tyrion kind of fawning over Dany, like, you're right, you are smart. And then Tyrion looks over at Sansa and smiles, and I think she's like disgusted with the way that he's fawning over Dany, basically, because she just can't stand Dany.
I was wondering, because I that was hard for me to read.
I watched it a few times to figure that out.
Yeah, that was hard for me to read. I was like, why is she
it was
upset
really
about
hard to
this?
read for sure. But after a few times putting the pieces together, she was mad at Tyrion for the way he's still fawning over Daenerys. Because when they were in the crypt together, she's like, it wouldn't work between us. The Dragon Queen is going to be a problem, you know?
Oh, yes.
That's what it is. So I thought this was an interesting line by Dany because she calls herself clever here. And 2 episodes ago, before the big battle, what did Tyrion say to Jorah? A common mistake among clever people is to underestimate their opponents.
Which she totally does
Totally
later
did.
on.
She learns this the hard way after she does not armor her dragons and underestimates Cersei and Euron's capabilities.
And just goes and plops her fleet down in Blackwater Bay.
Right,
What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's where Dragonstone is. Like at the mouth of the Blackwater Bay, basically.
Oh, that's true. But like
So-
Euron's just like sitting there waiting.
Yeah, exactly. You should have had your guard up. Like she should have she should have flown in on a dragon before the fleet got there, doing recon from way high up in the sky just to get the lay of the land and to see where, to get eyes on the potential enemy troops and everything. Like,
I'm surprised that they just kind of floated in and no one thought to right. I mean, we know from last episode that the dragons can fly quite high up.
oh, super high.
So take him to 20,000 feet.
Take him to
Fly
747 levels and
Yeah, and fly around a bit.
yeah.
Stay above the clouds and, stay out of danger, but fly around for a minute before you go flying 10 feet off the water. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm totally exaggerating. They were still high up, but
Yeah.
I mean, they were clearly visible from the water.
Oh yeah, clearly visible and well within range of those ballistas.
Yeah, which is too close to the water.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
those ballistas, they
I mean-
shoot far, but I mean, if she's high enough, they can't reach her.
This is the first time any of them have ever seen a ballista with this amount of power, though. You know what I mean? So it's not like she would have expected or even known that this was possible before this moment. But
That's
still, I mean,
You know that they exist.
yeah. You're
'cause-
first of all, Drogon gets hit with a ballista at the loot train battle.
Exactly.
And apparently that's not enough of reason for Dany to decide to armor her dragons, give them some type of protection. Then they go beyond the wall and Viserion gets shot and killed in one hit. Still not good enough of a reason for Dany to offer her children any type of protection, her 2 remaining children who have been proven to be vulnerable to projectiles at this point. Hashtag so dumb.
Valerian had armor, didn't he, if I'm not mistaken?
Totally. It's well within the Targaryen tradition to armor and saddle your dragons. So
Okay.
Dany has nobody to blame other than herself. I mean, if you're going to ride a horse, right, and you hop on bareback, after a couple times doing that, you're probably going to think, I need to make something to make this a little bit more easy, right?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
common sense. She's hanging on 1,500 feet above the ground, holding on to these little spindly spikes. And she doesn't think that she needs to come up with something to prevent herself from falling off, or the dragons get injured and there's no reason to protect them. Like, she doesn't think that it's worth it to protect them. Very frustrating. She set herself up for it, and I don't like seeing it, but like, she basically asked for it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Sucks. Totally sucks. Anything else you want to
Yes.
add about our number 5?
I don't think so. How about you?
That covers it for me too. I think that was pretty much it.
Okay, cool. What's your number 4?
Oh, my number 4, Bronn for Highgarden.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That's my number 4 too.
We're so synced up.
Nice.
We're on
Okay.
our periods are synced up.
Oh, Jesus.
Our cycles are
Oh my
synced.
God. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
So Tyrion is happy for Jaime and Brienne, and they're like kind of hanging out by the fire, and he's asking Jaime about what the deal is. He's like, so she's going to stay here with you? And Jaime's like, yeah, she's sworn to protect the Stark girls. So,
Of course she's staying.
yeah, and he's like, come
And I'm
on,
staying with her.
say something snide. I know you want to rib me. And Tyrion's got nothing. He's like, dude, I'm happy. I'm happy that you're happy. I'm happy that we're here together, that we're back on speaking terms. Like, I'm just happy. And then he's like, I'm happy that you'll finally have to climb for it. Which
It's like, do you know how long I've been waiting to tell tall person jokes?
Yeah. To climbing mountains.
To climbing mountains.
Yeah. And of course, he's got to be all perverted and ask what she's like down there, right?
That was creepy.
Jaime's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're a dog. He's like, I am the imp, and I demand to know.
Give me a morsel.
Lecherous little imp. I thought that was great. And it's right
Yeah.
at that point when Bronn just busts in through the door.
I was not expecting to see Bronn
How
either.
the fuck did he get in there?
I don't know. I don't think they're in the walls of Winterfell because there's like a camera angle of like this house-like structure, and then the next thing that we see are Jaime and
So she's going to
Tyrion.
stay here with
Oh,
you.
okay.
So
So
I'm
maybe I'm
not
wrong.
sure they're necessarily in the castle walls.
protect
Not that it
Stark.
matters because the castle walls, some of them are like totally
Destroyed.
So I mean, Bronn could just like walk through the rubble.
Right.
So, but yeah,
Oh my
I'm
God.
pretty sure it looks like, I don't want to say it's a brothel, but it might be like an inn or like a hotel of some sort. Or maybe where Jaime is planning to stay because he's going to.
Right, because he's gonna be staying there. So he must have.
Yeah.
That must be his his lodgings that he's,
Yeah, I took it as they are not in the castle walls.
Okay. Because I was like, how did Bronn get in the walls and then sneak through the castle and figure out exactly where they are? He's just like opening each door or like putting like a cup on the door and listening in each room to see where Jaime and Tyrion are, So he busts in. I knew you were fucking her, which is referencing that conversation that he had with Podrick outside of the tent
Yep.
at River
Yep,
Run.
I think they're having sex right now.
Yeah, he's him, like they've got to be fucking, right?
Getting a bit old to be a squire, aren't we?
They in there?
You think they're fucking?
What?
No. Why not? I'd fuck her. You'd fuck her, wouldn't you?
I'm her squire.
Oh. Well, he'd fuck her, that's for sure. And she'd fuck him, don't you think? The way she looks at him. The way all women look at him is frankly irritating. I preferred working with a little brother on that account.
That's so funny. And he's like, a pair of tall blonde toffs must be looking in the mirror. And it's just like it was with Cersei, right? It's like looking in the mirror.
Yep.
So
Totally.
funny. And Tyrion doesn't understand yet that Bronn is not on their team fully.
No, he's like fucking carrying a crossbow.
Sir Bronn of the
Joffrey's-
Blackwater. He
Joffrey's crossbow.
Yeah, Joffrey's. He welcomes him in. Where's your drink? What are you doing up north? And Jaime
What are you
notices
doing
a
with
crossbow.
that?
Yeah. Oh, this is for
This
you,
is for you.
both of you. And I couldn't believe this was happening. I was
was
there's a lot
afraid.
of scenes in this episode that made me feel uncomfortable, but I was very uncomfortable watching this.
Me too. I thought at any moment, because Tyrion and Jaime are both unarmed.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly.
totally unarmed.
And even if they were armed, what difference does it make? It's Bronn. Neither
I
of them
know.
could, when Jaime stands up, he's like, don't even
No,
fool yourself.
Your frightened days are over.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so he's like, you boys are a pair of gold-plated cunts. You know that? like the Hound, you can always count on Bronn for some
We only
great
get
lines.
the Hound and Bronn together right before the Battle of the Blackwater, right?
I think so.
I wish we could see more of those two together.
Yeah, that would be great.
The word cunt would have a whole,
It would lose all meaning.
it would
It just
lose
be said
all
so
meaning.
much.
Poor cunt.
Cunt. Cunts and cunts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, year after year, I've shoveled Lannister's shit, and what do I have to show? And Tyrion's like, well, you're a knight thanks to me. And he's like, thanks to me? And that title's worth about as much as a blonde hair from your brother's ball sack.
I laughed out loud when he said that. I thought that was so funny.
And I was thinking, one of Jaime's hairs or one of Brienne's hairs?
Oh my God.
And Tyrion brings up that riddle, power resides where men believe. Shut your mouth, Bronn says, cuts him off.
Tyrion's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm exceedingly uncomfortable at this point. He's like, I've never hit a dwarf before, but say another word and I will belt you. And Tyrion doesn't believe it, so he keeps talking, and he fucking cracks him with the left cross right to the face. And Tyrion thinks he broke his nose, but he's like, I didn't break your nose. I've been breaking noses since I was your size, and I know what it sounds like, which is
I know. He's
hilarious.
like, listen to me. Your sister offered me River Run.
To kill you both, basically implied.
Yeah. And I'm here.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you trusted Cersei? He goes, well, I knew your sister was dead the second I saw those dragons. So basically, that's why he's here.
Yeah.
Because she offered me River Run. I remember our pact. Cersei's fucking dead if those dragons hit King's Landing, which we end up losing another one here in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm still willing to bet that your Dragon Queen is going to win. So what are you going to offer me, basically?
He takes a sip of their wine, and he's like, that's good. Like, casually puts it back down.
It's like, yeah.
So funny.
Yep. He's like, that's pretty good wine.
Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, but if, odds might change of your victory if the Dragon Queen's hand turns up dead suddenly, and maybe a few of her top generals get picked off one by one. And Tyrion's like, may I speak?
Why not? Only death will shut you up.
We made a deal long ago. Do you remember?
If anyone offered me money to kill you, you'd pay me double.
What's double River Run?
Well, Highgarden, should you ask?
You could be Lord of the Reach.
I thought this was great because back when after Jaime killed Olenna, Bronn asked, he was like, I want that castle. And he's like, you don't want
how about that one?
Yeah. So
that's when our Bronn for Highgarden campaign started.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of funny that Jaime kind of shut him down back then about Highgarden, and Tyrion like offers it up like no big deal. Like, oh, Highgarden's available.
Right.
Storm's End was available too until 10 minutes ago when Gendry took it.
And so this must be really how Jaime felt, because he shut him down about Highgarden before, like you said. And here he says, Highgarden will never belong to a cutthroat. And I'm like, dude.
I was surprised that he said that.
I know. I was like, Jaime, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, but it's Jaime. He never backs down to anything,
No, even with one hand.
Yeah, even to a bear.
That's true.
Like
that's true.
Even with one
He's
hand.
He's pretty ballsy with those blonde ball sack hairs.
Yeah. He's a reckless, beautiful fool, as Cersei says, like just dives in without checking to see how deep the water is. Like that's exactly what he's doing here, basically, just tempting Bronn and taunting him.
I love Bronn here, though. He makes such a good point. He's like, oh, no? Well, who are your ancestors? The ones that made your family rich? Mm-hmm. Fancy lads in silk? Yeah. No, you're a fucking idiot. They were all cutthroats. It just takes one bastard that's good at killing people. He kills enough people and they make him a lord. I mean, it's pretty logical thinking.
Yeah, kill a few hundred, make you a lord. Kill a few thousand, they make you a king.
Yeah, it's true. It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, I thought it was a great monologue, very poignant.
And then all your cocksucking grandsons can ruin the family with their cocksucking ways.
It's true. It's like the cycle of societal decadence, where you have a prosperous society that develops, and people earn a lot of money, and they pass their money down to their next generations, and generation by generation they lose their work ethic and become more lazy and complacent and lose that fire that made them valuable and powerful and prominent in the first place. It's a cycle of society,
Totally.
It happens.
I couldn't agree more. It does happen. Sadly, it happens. I mean, I wish it wasn't that case, but it does. Mm-hmm. In many different societies, not just, one or two. That's quite common.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Highgarden, give me your word.
You have my word. But none of this means a thing until we
I
take
love
King's
this.
Landing.
He just like switches it up. He's like, hey, why don't you come and help us? And Bronn's like, fuck that.
Yeah, because even though he just punched him in the face, he fucking loves Bronn. Bronn's his
he
dude,
does.
you know? I would have said the same thing.
Fighter.
Yeah, like I want him on my side.
Yeah.
I don't want him
like,
as my enemy.
Tyrion, my fighting days are done. But I've still got a few killing days.
Oh, it's such a good line. That is a badass line. You could work your whole career in acting to the point where you get a line like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
oh no,
sure.
my fighting days are done, but I've still got a few killing days left. You hear me? You know, I was like, oh shit, that's so gangster, dude.
I thought that was great. So I have a question for you because I don't think Bronn is going to stay away from the action. Do you think he's going to show up in King's Landing some way?
People have been speculating that. I hope so. I hope that like at the last like second he comes to save Tyrion or Bronn or Jaime or something. I hope that he ends up not just sticking to the sidelines, but that he joins the good guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope so too. I think even though he took the crossbow from Cersei, and I thought when Qyburn handed him that crossbow that he might betray the brothers, the fact that he lets them go here and gives them another chance, it makes me feel like if it comes down to
having to choose
between the brothers or Cersei, that Bronn will choose the brothers.
I think so.
I would like to think so. Maybe more so Tyrion over Jaime.
If he's going to choose, like he does respect Tyrion, you know, like when they were reunited before the dragon pit, they both agreed they're glad to see each other alive and okay.
Exactly.
Know?
I think his relationship's a little bit more strained with Jaime because Jaime took on more of like a role of like, do this, do that, do this and that.
Jaime was a dick to him.
Yeah. It was like a...
Well, I can't dig because I got this golden hand. Oh, I can't row because I got this golden hand. Do this, do this. Here, I'm going to give you a castle and a wife. Oh, nope, taking it away at the last second. You know?
Exactly.
Like, why? I would be mad too. So, man. And so Bronn like slinks backwards out of the door like the Joker and is gone. And yeah, hopefully we'll see him making some good decisions from now on. And I'm assuming we'll see him again. Anything else you want to add about Bronn for Highgarden?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Johnny Stitches was all stoked when he heard that. He was like, Duncan called that. But Bronn called it, really, because he, like you said, I forgot. He had said, how about that one? You know, I want that castle.
Yeah.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3 are the last of the Starks.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's basically mine as well. Mine is called Information.
Oh, nice. Dude, we are so on the same page today.
I know. It's crazy. So
we're going to fly through our top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like 3 against 1. We have the 3 actual true-born Stark children up against Aegon Targaryen.
And of course they're meeting in the Godswood where speaking in front of the old gods, you know what I mean? It was just kind of fitting for the Starks to be holding a important family meeting like this.
I think that's my favorite set. I love the Godswood.
It's beautiful. Yeah. The colors and
the white tree with like the big red. Yeah, it's like a big giant Japanese maple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like an oversized Japanese maple.
Love Japanese maples with like a big thick trunk as opposed to a real one, which are like super skinny and, you know, scrawny.
We have a Japanese maple out front.
Same here.
Yeah. So Jon, I think, feels a little bit like 3 against 1 here, or maybe 2 against 1, because I know Bran is kind of a neutral, even though he's a Stark, he's kind of a neutral party. Robo Bran.
Data download.
So he gets defensive like right off the bat. He's like, you understand we'd all be dead. All of us, if it wasn't for her.
We'd be corpses marching down to King's Landing. Great line.
And Sansa's like, well, Arya's the one that killed the Night King, okay? And she's like, what the fuck?
It's a good point, though.
You know, her men gave their lives defending Winterfell, and we will never forget them. And she goes, well, that doesn't mean that you want to kneel to someone. And he's like, so I know Johnny Stitches does not like Sansa as a character. Actually, Sansa for a long time has been one of my favorite characters. She wasn't at the beginning, and then she kind of became my favorite character.
And now
she's
losing
falling
you
off
again.
the list. Yeah, she's kind of fallen off the list as my favorite character, one of them, because I feel like it's like talking to a brick wall.
So irrational.
Like, I don't understand what her problem is with Danny. I really, really don't. I've been trying to like kind of, other than the fact that she's in love with John.
Well, think about it this way. Sansa wanted to give away the last hearth and Carhold, right? So one of the main differences between John and Sansa is that Sansa doesn't necessarily recognize that children shouldn't be held responsible for the actions of their parents. And Dany's parents, her dad specifically, killed their uncle and grandfather. So maybe Dany still has animosity towards House Targaryen in general because of that. But
that, I mean, again, like, it's like talking to a brick wall. Like, get over it.
Right.
I mean, she's proven that she came and fought this war, and, you know, it's really not Sansa's place to argue with John. It's not her place to dislike Dany. And I mean, I know that I had speculated that Sansa and Arya already knew about John's heritage,
right,
which is what was causing this animosity.
Right. Don't forget that.
I was kind of leaning on that from Sansa's perspective too. Like, she doesn't like the fact that they're aunt and nephew. Or maybe
that she was just worried that John would switch sides, realizing that he's a Targaryen.
Yeah, but I mean, we come to find out in this scene here that that's not the case, that they were unaware of his heritage. So it left me a little confused as to where this continued animosity is coming from towards Dany. I got it up front. I got that she was apprehensive, but after this battle, after what they all went through together as the living people together, and what Dany did, she lost pretty much her entire Dothraki army, most of her Unsullied. She blew up shit with her dragons, and you still don't trust this woman? I'm just trying to figure out like where she's coming from. It's hard for me to relate to Sansa in this moment. And maybe she just has a bad gut feeling and she's trusting her gut. And sometimes I just have to respect people for doing that, because trusting your gut, maybe she's on to something that we just don't see as an audience yet.
Maybe.
Well, we do kind of see it a little bit in this episode. Just a little bit. Dany's coming unhinged, I think. A little bit.
She does seem to be coming unhinged a bit.
She's a little
very
unraveled.
Unnerving.
Yeah, it is. So maybe Sansa's distrust is going to be well placed as the rest
maybe we'll
of the
find out that she was right.
Pans out. Yeah, exactly. But for right now, in this moment, I'm kind of like, girlfriend, get off your step stool and like join your brother.
And I'm surprised that Arya is like standing right by Sansa's side throughout this whole thing. Like, she's like on team Sansa 100%, saying she's the smartest person she's ever met, etc. I don't understand how Arya got to this point. Sansa didn't do anything like that spectacular to make, to seem like
other than killing Littlefinger, or
right. Like, I
mean, we still haven't seen Littlefinger, so
right.
My hope that he's still alive is slowly dwindling,
slowly waning, but like
slowly waning away.
Remember in the Godswood when John's like, "I'm your family too," and Arya gives him a hug, and she's like, "Don't forget that." We thought that made sense because she probably knew that he was a Targaryen already. Makes sense. John's away. Bran finds out. I'd tell everybody in the family immediately, because that's information that can't be lost again. And so I was really surprised learning that Arya didn't know. What was her motivation for being at odds with John there? I don't get it.
Yeah, and here we get kind of a little pendulum swing, because Arya actually agrees with John, and it takes
I swore myself
Sansa
to the North and to her cause.
Yeah, and she's like, I respect that. And Sansa like
what?
Whips her head. She's like, what? What? And she kind of lays it out for Sansa. We needed her army, her dragons. And she looks over at John. She's like, you did the right thing. But now we're telling you we don't trust your queen.
Now we're doing the right thing and telling you we don't trust your queen.
Your queen.
Yep.
I find the grammar in these sentences very poignant.
Yeah, and Sansa says the same thing to Tyrion, too.
Yeah.
As we'll get to in a minute.
And he even says, he goes, well, she's your queen, too.
Right.
And then, so Jon continues, you don't know her yet. So he goes, he's trying to defend Dany. Right. He's always defending Dany against his sisters.
For good reason.
Yeah, I'm totally on Jon's side with Dany right now. I mean, that may change in 2 episodes. We'll see. But
yeah,
as where the story is right now, what she did for the Starks, what she did for the North, what she did for mankind, I don't see where this distrust is coming from his sisters. Especially the fact that they don't know that she's really his aunt.
Yeah.
And Arya's like, I'll never know her. She is not one of us.
Terrible attitude. I mean, if Jon had thought
calls
that
her
way,
out on it too. He's like, you're not going to have any allies if you just trust like the 4 people that you grew up with.
Yeah, it's such a stupid way to think. Like if Jon thought that way, the Wildlings would have ended up coming to Winterfell on the Night King's team. You know what I mean? Like the only reason the only reason they were able to survive this far is because Jon doesn't think that way and wants to be allies with everybody. You know what I mean?
I feel like that was Sansa's words coming out of Arya's mouth.
Oh, kind of like Cersei's words coming out of Sansa's mouth in that letter.
Yeah.
Raven.
Yeah. I think they've been talking. I think the 2 girls have been talking. And I think that might have just been like a repeated line that maybe Sansa said to Arya and she's repeating it because it doesn't seem like Arya to me.
Yeah. It's very, well, I mean, at the same time, she's like, that's all right. I don't need many allies. And it makes sense because she's a lone wolf. Like she always has been, you know what I mean? She is a trained assassin who goes in by herself and does these things. And like, from her perspective, she doesn't feel like she needs anybody on her team. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it does seem like Sansa's attitude, but it also like it seems like it rubs off but sort of fits with Arya's mindset, and that's maybe why it's stuck with her.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she would have formulated those words if she hadn't talked to Sansa.
Right.
But she feels that way, so she's using that as ammunition.
Yeah, and Jon's like, Arya.
We're family. The 4 of us. The last of the Starks. And you had made this point a couple episodes ago about furthering the Stark line, that there's really no one to do that.
Yeah.
So I thought of you when she said the last of the Starks. And I find it funny that it's also the title of this episode because Jon's a Targaryen. Sansa and Arya, they're girls. So I mean, Sansa is she's technically a Bolton. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, if she's nice to Dany could change that with a royal decree, I'm sure. Interesting, since you mentioned that, Sansa's calling herself a Stark at this point. I was thinking about this earlier. Cersei, she has never been known as Cersei Baratheon. As long as we've known, she's always been referred to as Cersei Lannister.
That is true.
Very interesting.
So maybe in Westeros you can keep your maiden name.
Maybe, but then again, Catelyn Stark. I mean, so maybe you have the option. I don't know.
Maybe it's a choice.
It's weird.
Could be. It seems a little weird just due to the fact that women are so like suppressed in Westeros that they would be allowed to. Although Catelyn Stark, she always talks about how proud she is to be a Tully. Too.
Right. I mean, even if you're like a Stark by name, you're still always a Tully. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Like there's like, I don't know. It's weird.
But if Sansa were to get married, like let's say to Tyrion, she would be Sansa Lannister again, and her children would be Lannisters,
exactly,
not Starks.
And Arya's children would be Baratheons.
Maybe she's pregnant. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Well,
maybe Brienne's pregnant too.
Oh my God.
And we know
There's a lot of
Gilly's
babies
pregnant.
in this. I love how they tied her in, like, being really pregnant. I think that might be the last time we see Gilly and Sam.
Oh, I think we'll see them again, but I think that was the last time John and Sam will ever see each other.
I agree. So I liked that they used her being really, truly pregnant in real life to, like, give Sam a baby.
And it's not until John hugs her and, like, feels her baby bump on his own body, I think.
I know,
and
I
he's
love
like,
his,
looks
like,
down.
eyes.
Yeah.
When he hugs her, his eyes get all wide, like, behind her back, and then
Looks
he, like,
over at
looks down.
Sam.
He's like, what?
Sam smiles, like, and nods, like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
did it.
I had posed a question on the live broadcast. At this point, is the Night's Watch essentially over? Like, since the Night King is gone and the winter is repelled and the army of the undead has been defeated, is the Night's Watch a relic, a thing of the past, no longer necessary, disbanded, so Sam's vows no longer apply?
I think that I'm not sure how many Night's Watchmen are left.
Right. I mean, like, even after the first long night, they maintained the order of the Night's Watch just in case it happened again. You know what I mean?
But the fact that the Night King himself has died,
He's dead, right.
or
but then again,
possibly died.
in the books, the Night King is the 13th Lord Commander. So there was no Night King, yet they continued to have the Night's Watch.
I think maybe what they'll probably do, because the wall is broken, I mean, and it was a magical wall, so it's going to take a really long time to rebuild it. I'm not sure that they really will rebuild it.
That wall was broken more than Brienne's heart.
Oh, damn, that was awful.
Sorry.
I'm not sure how much effort that we'll see in the last, 2 episodes here, but my guess would be is that they'll probably revive it at some point, and the men that were a part of the Night's Watch can either continue or not continue.
Maybe.
I think this was kind of a reset button. I think Winterfell, this battle between the living and the dead, kind of reset a lot of things, put a lot of things in perspective. And let's see, Dolorous Ed was the last Lord Commander. He was the...
Well, he was at least sort of
commander?
like de facto Lord Commander. I don't know if he was ever actually officially voted in.
Was he the 999th Lord Commander?
I don't technically know if he was ever a Lord Commander per se.
Okay.
But if he was, he would be the 999th, I believe.
That irritates me from a OCD perspective. If
Why?
there's
Just
no
'cause it's
longer
not...
a Night's Watch, because it's not 1,000.
Oh, like just
we just get like one more.
No, but 999 is the perfect number to go out on. 39, fine. That's silver, man. That's what you want for your precious metals.
It's also the opposite. If you turn it upside down, it's the opposite of 666.
It's Satan! Nero.
Oh man. Yeah, so good question. Me personally, I think they'll probably maintain some type of order up there. It's a great place to send prisoners and have a presence in the north, but they've made a treaty and a pact with the wildlings, and the army of the dead are no longer a factor as we know right this minute. So I don't think there's really much of a need for it anymore, but they might just do it after tradition.
Yeah, somebody had a really cool idea, which isn't going to happen, but it was wild that like Qyburn finds the text that tells of the creation of the Night King, and he shoves a piece of dragon glass into
Jesus
Cersei's
Christ.
heart and makes her like the new Night Queen.
Oh, fuck. That'd be awful.
It'd be so cool.
He did pick up that hand.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so...
The last of the Starks, and he
I've never
kind of
been
like
a Stark.
Yeah, closes his eyes and I've never been a Stark. And like, Sansa's like, you're just as much Ned Stark's child as any of us. Nope. And Arya's like, you're my brother, not my half brother or my bastard brother, my brother. And Jon is just standing there looking conflicted, and he looks over at Bran. And to me, I thought Bran seemed a little bit surprised that Jon didn't keep speaking after saying, I've never been a Stark, like,
He's
continue,
like,
finish that thought,
Yeah, that's true.
I thought Bran was surprised. And so he makes eye contact with Jon, and it's your choice. You don't have to tell him if you don't want to. I'm not going to tell him. It's up to you, And this is after Dany begged Jon not to tell him. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as soon as Bran says, it's your choice, you know, Arya and Sansa are like, what? What are you talking about? And they turn around and look at him like, you guys know something we don't? You know, like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like, what is happening here?
And
I love Arya here. She's like, you're my brother. You're not my half brother or my bastard brother. My brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
really
Jon's
poignant.
face, he just like
So
closes
conflicted.
his eyes and just like look of pain across his face is just, it's tangible. You feel it in your own heart.
Definitely.
Like, and he's
gotta
like,
make this choice.
That's when Bran says, it's your choice. And he goes, I need to tell you something. But you have to swear it. Swear you'll never tell another soul. And she's like, well, what is it? And he goes, you have to swear it before I tell you. And Sansa's like, what? I can't make a promise to keep a secret if I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, how can I do that?
And that just, well, because you're family. Like, I don't have a sibling. But if I had a sibling and my sibling came up to me and was like, you have to promise to keep this secret and you have to promise before I tell you, I'd be like, you got it. We're
like,
family.
You have to make a decision. If you want the information, this is the condition to receive the information. You can either agree to that condition or not.
Yeah.
You know
So, you know, he goes, swear it. And Arya doesn't even hesitate. She's like, I swear it. She trusts Jon. She knows what type of man he is.
Mm-hmm.
And Sansa kind of mumbles it. Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
She's like, I swear it. Like, it like caught in her throat. Whereas Arya was like, I swear it.
That's
like,
funny.
Enunciated it. And I will say that Sansa mumbles sometimes other you know,
so it might
sentences
not
here
have
and there.
any particular significance. Like, it might just be the way she talks.
But I felt like in this poignant moment, like, she should have enunciated it because we know she can enunciate her words.
Right. Make it clear that you swear.
Mumbler! Seriously.
But she's known to mumble. Like when she's talking about, like, was it up at Moat Cailin with Littlefinger? She's like, I've been here before, like with my father and Arya.
Mumbler!
Like she doesn't really, like, doesn't want to talk about it. Like she kind of mumbled it. So,
yep.
And then
like
I love
Willy
it because
Wonka.
he says at first, he goes, I need to tell you something. And then they swear it. And then he looks over at Bran and he's like, tell him.
Yeah.
He can't even tell him.
Can't even do it.
He can't even do it himself.
Is that the end of your number 3?
Yeah. I wish we would have seen the reaction. I mean, I know.
Yeah, that's what Johnny was saying too last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we've gotten the information before, but it's such an integral part of this story. I don't mind hearing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather hear it again and see the reaction than not hear it again at all.
Sure. I feel you. It didn't even cross my mind. I wasn't like too upset. We sort of see Sansa's reaction coming up as she's my number 3 continues beyond this point.
Oh, okay. With the Hound and Arya.
Not that part, but moving on next to Sansa as she's watching the dragons flying in the sky.
Oh, okay.
Because mine is information, and as we know, this is no longer a secret. It's now information. So it covers the transition from Jon and Dany and Bran and Sam knowing to like this becoming information.
Got it.
So next, Dany's with the dragons and Rhaegal goes to take off and he is in rough shape. Like his wings are like not moving like in order together, and it's like an asymmetrical, like offbeat wing movement.
Yeah, and his legs kind of dangle.
Yeah. Ugh. And it's kind of like the flying equivalent of limping, you know, I thought.
Totally.
Which was interesting. And so Sansa is standing on the battlements just staring and like in shock at the dragons, and guarantee you she's just thinking about how her brother, her quote unquote brother, really is a dragon and has been this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The dragon wolf. And
I like it.
And Tyrion walks up behind her, my lady. And she doesn't say anything, which is funny because he like says, my lord is the standard response. But then later when Qyburn says my lord to him, he doesn't say anything. So he's
nice.
like not even following his own
That's funny.
advice. Yeah, like I was surprised Qyburn didn't say, my lord is the standard response. So she's so mad, and it calls back to the way she like looked disgusted at Tyrion during the banquet. She's like, why her? And Tyrion's like, she loves your brother. But, that doesn't mean she's going to be a good queen, as Sansa points out. And Tyrion's like, what the hell? Like, you're saying, like, she doesn't understand it either. She's like, you seem determined not to like her,
yes.
right? Like,
yes.
The core of every prosperous reign the Seven Kingdoms has ever known has been a positive relationship between the Iron Throne and the North. Jon's going to be Warden of the North, she says, so good relationships seem likely. But Tyrion brings up, like, probably he's going to be in the capital a lot, So you're really going to be the power in the North. And I'd feel much better about the future if I knew before I left that you and Dany were allies. Like, what the hell? Right? So they're talking about...
She's like, well, I suppose that's up to him.
Right.
She won't even look at him, and I love that he calls her out on it. He goes, Sansa, look at me.
Yeah, that was a good point, too. And she, like, turns and looks at him. I like that, too. Good call on that. And this is when she says, your queen still has her dragons. What are you worried about? Jon's taking our army with him. Your queen still has her dragons. Tyrion's like, she's your queen, too. You don't have to be her friend, but why provoke her? And... it's like, how is that in anybody's interest, right?
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, I don't get it. I don't get what her problem is.
And this is she sort of brings up her problem here. She's like, you're afraid of her, which is a good point. Like, it's not that Tyrion just respects her, but he's also like scared of what she's capable of and what she might do. He's not fully 100% confident in her, even if he says that he is,
Sure.
So he's like, well, every good ruler needs to inspire a bit of fear. But she also brings up her point, like this other point, like, well, I don't even want Jon to go south because the men in my family don't do well in the capital, especially not when there's Targaryens. I felt that was a really bad
omen.
Yeah, exactly. Jon gives away his dog.
Yes, and then he gets his dragon killed, and now next episode he's probably going to be up in King's Landing again.
Yeah, he's not making it out of this.
This is the second time he's been to King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
And survived. He survived the first time. And
yeah.
I don't know about his future here.
He's a goner.
Oh, God. As much as I really hated him this episode for dissing Ghost the way he did, I wanted to slap him across the face.
Yeah. Still love him, obviously.
I still love Jon Snow.
And like one of our commenters mentioned on Facebook, it was probably just too expensive to have him like nuzzle Ghost and do this stuff. So the unfortunate side effect of not spending the money to make that happen.
It was off-putting for his character.
Yeah, it had the unfortunate side effect of making Jon look callous and like a dick, basically.
I said to Dave, I cannot believe he just did that.
Yeah, like Ghost whimpers to get his attention and he just nods at him.
I said to Dave, I was like, could you imagine doing that to Jaeger?
Right.
Our dog's name is Jaeger. Like, could you imagine doing that to Jaeger?
Planning, like you're probably never even going to see him again and you just walk away.
You just walk away from him.
Even though he's whining and sad and injured. So Sansa says the men in her family don't do well going down to the capital. But Tyrion brings up, no. But as your brother once told me, he's not a Stark. And this like freaks Sansa out. She turns back away from him and she like starts like, you can see the gears like
she's wigging.
Spinning. Yeah. Like freaking out inside of her head. And Tyrion's like, are you all right? And she doesn't say anything, and he's trying to pump her up. People love her. You've seen that. You've seen how they fight for her. She wants to make the world a better place. I believe in her. And she doesn't respond, and so he's like, this is useless, and just starts walking away, basically, like talking to a brick wall, like you said. And you can see Sansa thinking about telling him, right? And I couldn't believe it. Yeah, Tyrion, as he's walking away. What if there's someone else? Someone better? And I was like, oh my God, you just swore to Jon. You wouldn't tell anybody.
Like, you call yourself a Stark, except you're like breaking your word like 10 seconds after you made it like a freaking sorority girl.
Right. Like you're being loyal to Jon by being disloyal to him and breaking your word to him.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's bullshit. So my number 3 continues next. when Tyrion and Varys are speaking
Okay.
speaking of dangerous truths below the deck of the Targaryen ship on the way to Blackwater Bay back to Dragonstone. And all this shit is happening, and Tyrion's like, oh my God, like, think of the past 20 years, the war, the murder, the misery, all of it because Robert Baratheon loved someone who didn't love him back. And in other words, talking
crazy?
about Robert and Lyanna and Jon being born as a result of it. Yeah, it's totally crazy. And it was interesting to me as well, because Robert Baratheon loved someone who didn't love him back. Does that remind you of anything from this episode?
No.
Robert Baratheon loved Lyanna Stark. Who is said to look like Lyanna Stark? Arya is said to resemble Lyanna Stark.
Gendry.
And Gendry is in love with Arya, right? So much like Arya left...
connection.
Right? Much like Lyanna left Robert, now Arya has essentially left Gendry, who's confessed to loving her. It makes perfect sense, like father, like son. They both like have these strong romantic feelings for these two women who look so much alike.
They have a type.
Yeah, Robert Baratheon loving Lyanna and like all this chaos that's resulted from it. It's very similar to Arya and Gendry. Hopefully nothing horrible happens as a result of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So Varys is like, how many others know of the truth of Jon, basically? And Tyrion's like, including us, 8. So we have Dany, Jon, Sam, Bran, Arya, Sansa, Varys, and Tyrion at this point. 8. And Varys is like, well, then it's not a secret anymore. It's information. If a handful of people know now, hundreds will know soon. Then what happens? And I was like, oh my God, this is so intense. Just like Dany had said to Jon, like, it doesn't matter how many times you kneel. What happens when they force you to press your claim, force you to come take what's mine? You know, I'm like, oh my God.
It's true. She's right with that for sure.
So Varys is basically saying, like, everyone's going to know soon. Like, Tyrion's like, she'll lose the North. Sansa will make sure she loses the Vale. And what's worse, Jon has the better claim. And Varys says it here too. Like, even though Tyrion says he doesn't want the throne, he's like, I'm not sure that it matters what he wants. The fact is, people are drawn to him. Wildlings, Northmen, he's a war hero. And mirroring Bran at the end of last season, he loved her. And she loved him. Yeah. He loves our queen, and she loves him. If we marry them, they could rule together. And Varys brings up the whole incest thing. Like, yeah, it's normal for Targaryens, but he grew up in Winterfell, right? Like, is marrying your aunt common up there?
And it seems to not be. I mean, I
Yeah.
took that as Varys saying that's a Targaryen thing. That's not necessarily like a Westerosi thing.
Although Lysa Arryn wanted to marry Sansa to her cousin, Sweet Robin.
But did you see Sansa's face when
right, but we talked about that. We don't know if it's because of the incest or because it's Robin.
I think it was both.
Maybe, yeah. So
probably more the fact that it was Robin, but still it's her cousin. Like,
yeah, and so Tyrion or Varys mentions that, you know, Dany, you think she wants to share the throne? Like, it's not happening, you know? She doesn't like having her authority questioned. Tyrion's still trying to rationalize it. Every time someone questions her, he's trying to rationalize it this episode. I think maybe Tyrion might even turn on her eventually. And she's like, yeah, she doesn't like having her authority questioned, but that's, you know, every monarch is like that, right? And this is the first that Varys straight up says it. Like you said, you feel like Dany may be slipping a little bit. He says, I worry about her state of mind. And Tyrion's like, that's our job. We're her advisors. And then he's just like, well, we still have to take King's Landing. Maybe Cersei will win and kill us all, and that would solve all of our problems. I thought that was a hilarious line. So after their whole it continues after like their whole war meeting with Dany, and they're trying to talk her down from just destroying King's Landing, and she's like, you know, saying, well, at least
when they're
let's make
sitting
it
in Dragonstone at like in front of the throne there. Yeah,
exactly. It's after the scene where she says we should at least make it look like I tried to make take every step to prevent it. And so Varys is basically off Team Dany at this point. He's like, I've served tyrants most of my life. They all talk about destiny. And Tyrion has a pretty good point. She is a girl who walked into a fire with 3 stones and walked out unburnt with 3 dragons. You know, how could she not believe in destiny? But then again, that could be a problem, as Varys points out. Like, people who believe in prophecies and destiny and like are convinced of something, like they're dogmatic, and it's not a good like mindset. It's a difference between ideology and philosophy, where like you're stuck in your ideology, whereas a philosopher is their mindset is fluid, open to new information.
Sure.
So Varys is like, you know, and then there's the whole Jon Snow thing, like, but the problem of Jon Snow, but maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's a solution. You know, both of them.
It could be a solution.
Yeah. Who do you think would make a better ruler? Very tellingly, Tyrion does not answer directly. He just says he doesn't want the throne. And Varys is like, yeah, have you considered that the best ruler might be someone who doesn't want to rule? And I was like, oh yeah, kind of like George Washington. Like he didn't, he even said, don't call me king. Like, they came up with this whole list of like crazy titles for him. John Adams did. And he was like, no, just call me Mr. President.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. That's because they did want to call him king at the beginning.
Yep. And like, yeah, king plus like titles, you know?
Titles.
So they're talking about, Tyrion's like, you're talking about treason, you know? Like, he's like, come on, you've thought about it. He's like, yeah,
but thoughts aren't treason, yeah. Varys.
And Varys is like, Jon is temperate, measured. He's a man, which makes him more appealing to the lords of Westeros, whose support they're going to need, because women are just, you know, like not. No, but there's never been like a female ruler in Westeros before, besides Cersei. So Tyrion brings up that cocks aren't a true qualification, as I'm sure you'd agree, considering Varys doesn't have one.
It's all about cocks in the end.
Yeah, and Varys is wrong here. He says, but he's the heir to the Iron Throne. Yes, because he's a man. Cocks are important, I'm afraid, but that's not right. He's not the heir because he's a man. He's the heir because he's a direct descendant of Rhaegar. Even if he was a female,
exactly,
he would come in line before Dany. So
Dany.
This was like a episode writing error, I felt like on the writer's part.
I felt that way too, because I thought to myself, I said, well, even if it was a girl, even if Jon was a girl, he would still be ahead of Dany in the succession because he's Rhaegar's child.
Exactly. And so Tyrion says, what about my earlier proposal that they could rule together as king and queen? And Varys makes a good point. She's too strong for him. She'd bend him to her will, as she already has. And that is so true. Like, he bent the knee to her. He's kind of wrapped around her finger. He did decide to tell Sansa and Arya the truth. So he has sort of stepped back from that control. And he also
kind of went against everybody when he declared that he had bent the knee to Dany in front of Cersei that one time. So,
right, that's true.
He can be stubborn when he wants to be.
Yeah, if it's a matter of honor, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and he felt like Sansa and Arya deserved the truth. Like he owed it to them, he said.
Yeah. And, I see here where he, Tyrion goes, well, he could temper her worst impulses. And Varys kind of throws shade at him and says like, oh, like you have. I feel that that's a little displaced because Tyrion is her hand. And while she loves Tyrion as, a person on her council, she is in love with Jon. And when you are in love with somebody and they are coming to you and telling you to do something or not to do something, it holds more weight than, say, like your friend.
Right. Like she said to Sansa, like, my whole goal, my entire life has been the Iron Throne until I met Jon. Now I'm at his side fighting his war in his territory. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's true.
I don't necessarily agree with Varys's thought process there. I do agree that she's maybe a stronger soul than Jon is, but Jon can be stubborn. And I think that she would listen to Jon even more so than she already listens to Tyrion.
Probably. It's funny though, Varys is like, as you have tempered her worst impulses, you're drinking quite a lot, like pointing out, AKA, I can tell you're feeling conflicted about this.
Yeah.
Calls him on it, which tells me that Tyrion isn't being 100% honest. Like he's not 100% convicted that Dany's the best option. A Targaryen father and a Stark mother, Varys says, Jon may be the only one alive who can actually keep the North in the Seven Kingdoms. And Tyrion's like basically saying like, how many kings have you served? You know, like, where's your loyalty really lie? And he's like, you know where my loyalty stands, you know? I serve the realm. I will never betray the realm.
He's like, what the fuck is the realm? I love Tyrion kind of calls him out on this too. Like, explain to me what you call the realm.
A vast continent home to millions of people, most of whom don't care who sits on the Iron Throne. But I liked Varys' response. He's like, yeah,
oh, me too.
Millions of people, many of whom will die if the wrong person sits on the Iron Throne. We don't know their names, but they're just as real as us. They deserve to live. They deserve food for their children. I will act in their interest, no matter the personal cost. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, because he emphasized the word act. As if he means like, I will intervene.
I'm going to do something.
Physically.
And this is coming right off him telling Dany to her face, as she asked him to do.
Yep.
Like, if I'm doing something wrong that's not in the best interest of the people, you come and tell me first before you go behind my back.
Right. And I was proud of him that he did it.
Yeah, me too. He told her straight to her face, you're wrong for doing this. And I feel like she kind of brushed him off. So this, as much as I hate Varys for it, it kind of gives him the opening to say, well, fuck you then.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I have to do then. He gave her the opportunity. He did what he said he was going to do. And she decided not to listen for all we know right now. I mean, she may listen. Let's give her a minute to decide. But he's already planning on the fact that she's dismissing his suggestion.
Yep. So he emphasizes that he will act if he needs to, no matter the cost. And Tyrion, very telling, like, this is a crazy moment. He says, so what happens to her? Like, what happens to her? And, like, in other words, like, if you back Jon, like, what does that mean for Daenerys? And he just kind of looks at him like,
nothing good.
You know what happens. Like, like, holy shit, is Varys talking about killing Dany?
I think so.
Yeah, and Tyrion's like, please, don't. You know, and he's like, listen, I've been as honest as I can, but each of us has a choice to make. I pray we choose wisely. And I was like, oh my God.
I feel like he's including Dany in that too, because he said each of us has a choice to make.
Yep.
I pray that we.
That's a good point.
I felt that it was a larger than just between him and Tyrion, because he could say, I pray that you and I make the right decision. But I felt like he's still giving her some time to decide. But in the meantime, he's not going to sit around and wait for her to decide. He's going to have a plan in place. So if she decides how he feels the wrong way, he can stop it before it starts or in time to save as many people as possible.
Yep. Definitely. So that pretty much wraps up everything I have for my number 3. Anything else you want to add to that scene or any of those little scenes?
No, I think it's a great number 3.
All right. So let's move on to your numero dos, Lady Rachel.
My number 2 is actually
Ghost,
Tyrion, and no, Ghost is always in my top, but Ghost in this episode was just too sad for me. My number 2 is actually what we just talked about, Tyrion and Varys in the throne room at Dragonstone.
Oh, all right. Cool.
Yeah. So what's your number 1?
My number 2 first.
Oh, number 2. Sorry.
It's all right. My number 2 is Ghost. I asked because I thought maybe we still had the same number 2.
Nope, I think we're diverting.
So, but your number 2 is the end of my number 3. So it's like pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Ghost Disrespected, which just pissed me off. And these, our top numbers, they don't always have to be something that we like. And this is definitely something that I did not like. So Jon and Tormund are talking as Jon prepares to leave. And Tormund's like, you're not going to ride the dragon south. He's like, just a horse. Rhaegal needs to heal. He doesn't need me weighing him down. And I was like, oh, fuck. Watching it the second time, this is the nail in Rhaegal's coffin.
Yep.
Jon had plot armor, at least until episode 5, I'd say. And so if Jon was on Rhaegal, that probably meant Rhaegal would be safe. But the fact that one of our beloved heroes has chosen not to accompany this dragon is sort of like a hint that he's in danger. And so I was like, shit. And Tormund has a great line in response. You weigh as much as 2 fleas fucking. Which is hilarious.
It's like, what?
And he's like, fuck this. He's like, I'm taking the free folk home. We've had enough of the South. Women down here don't like me. He's still upset about Brienne.
Alluding to Brienne.
Yeah. And Jon's like, this is the North, and the free folk are welcome to stay. But it's not home, and they need room to wander. And so he's going to take them back through Castle Black when the storms pass, back where they belong.
That was interesting to me because that shows me that it's not just the Night King who brings the winter. It's actually a physical season.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's been, a number of winters, infinite winters. It's just that they haven't had a winter since Bran was born, basically.
Okay. Yeah. I mean.
And the winters are like random lengths. You can never tell how long they're going to be.
Yeah, it could be like years long.
Yep.
So they're going to winter at Castle Black.
Well, they're going to... He's going to take them back through Castle Black as soon as the winter storms passed. I don't know if they're leaving now to go there or if they're going to wait till the storms pass to go to Castle Black. It wasn't entirely clear to me, but it doesn't really matter. So he says, back where we belong. And Jon kind of looks over at Ghost. It's where he belongs too. Direwolf has no place in the South. Will you take him with you? He'd be happier up there. And I was like, so fucked up, Jon. Like, what the fuck, man? Like,
why don't you just leave him at Winterfell?
Why don't you just keep him by your side at every fucking moment? I would never go anywhere without my direwolf. I would always have it by my side to protect me and to keep me company.
I feel
because it's very unique. Like, you have this special thing, this crazy bond with a creature that nobody else on the planet has at this point. He's the last, aside from Nymeria, who's out there. Nobody else has a direwolf friend, and you're just casting that aside as if it's like worthless, and
I know. I try to think from Jon's perspective, where is he coming from for doing such a horrible thing to a pet like that? And I really have a hard time understanding why he would give him to Tormund of all people.
Maybe because Tormund's rough and tumble, and Ghost is rough and tumble, and is of the North. So it makes sense. Like, if you got to give him to somebody,
I just feel like he should stay if he's gonna not. So if Jon makes the decision, like, I don't want my direwolf to go south because I'm afraid for his safety. Okay, that's respectful,
right? But he didn't say that. In a way,
no, he didn't. But leave him at Winterfell with Sansa. Like, have him protect his family.
Right. Let them keep one of the direwolves, if anything.
I don't get why he should go north of the wall with the wildlings and Tormund when he could stay at Winterfell and protect his family home and protect his cousin. But still, I think that's where I lost him.
But yeah, and Ghost has been a core part of Jon's identity. They called Robb Stark the Young Wolf. They called Jon Snow the White Wolf.
The White Wolf.
When people did fan art for the past, 10 years about Jon Snow being ending up on the Iron Throne, every fucking one of those pictures has Ghost sitting next to him. It's just it's just not right, this whole thing,
I wonder how Travis feels about this.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out. I'm sure he's livid.
Yeah, I said to Dave, I was like, I don't like that at all.
Yeah. And speaking of Ghost,
it really turned me off from wanting to watch the rest of the episode. I did, and I wanted to watch the rest of the episode, but there was half a moment there where I was just like, that's such bullshit.
Yeah, same here. Speaking of Ghost, just in general, he's fucking wounded. He's a mess. Missing an ear.
I know.
He's got blood all over him and shit. And even though he's wounded and whimpering, Jon still just nods at him and walks away, which is fucked
I hated
up.
that. I hated that.
Hated it.
At least say goodbye to him.
Yeah. Give him a fucking hug, something.
I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Really mad. Really mad about it. That's probably the thing that I dislike most about this entire series, honestly.
Me too.
I like the Sand Snakes better than this.
I like this episode because of the propulsion of the story, but I might have to go out on a limb and say the second half of this episode is my least favorite in the series.
Damn. Interesting.
I did not like the way he treated Ghost, and I think it was just because I was gullible and blindsided by everything else that happened. I was really really shocked. And I wasn't really expecting it after what we just came off of from a reset button. But then again, like in hindsight, we only have 2 episodes left now.
Right.
Like my nature of watching regular TV shows has kind of conditioned me to think, okay, like we just had a battle, we're going to have like a reset episode and then we'll get picked back up into it. And it was like we had a quarter of a reset episode.
Yeah, nope, this is the final season. We're balls
exactly.
Out, balls to the wall from here out.
I want to say that with a grain of salt that it was my least favorite in the series. I think I feel that way because I was so gullible.
Right.
But the episode itself was amazing.
I'm disappointed with narratively the way that they chose to handle Ghost and what they chose to do with this. And as much as I disliked the pain of Rhaegal and Missandei, like losing them, I thought narratively that was all very like appropriate.
Game of Thrones.
And yeah, like I liked it. As much as I didn't like it, I was like, they're hurting us. This is what I'm expecting, but I did not like what they did with I'm criticizing Game of Thrones about Ghost.
I feel like it hurt me more watching Ghost than Rhaegal falling from the sky.
It was worse seeing Ghost be abandoned than it was seeing Rhaegal dying.
Yeah. And I hate to say that because I don't like seeing any of the dragons die because they're such rare, amazing creatures, as is a direwolf. I don't like when people abandon their pets. It bothers me to the core of my soul.
Definitely. So Jon's like, he'll be happier up there in the north with you. And Tormund's like, so would you. Jon like kind of smiles, I wish I was going with you. And basically this is farewell then, he says. And Tormund says, you never know. You've got the north in you. The real north. Anything else you want to add about that, or should we move on to your number 1?
We can go to my number 1.
All right, what you got?
My number 1 is Dany and Jon.
Ooh.
I loved the scene for so many reasons. I love the fact that Jon is drunk.
Just a little.
Just a little as he stumbles off the bed. And just their dynamic. You get to see them struggling with each other a little bit here.
I just have to bring up, the scene starts off as expected with Jon just brooding in the darkness as usual, right?
I think he's spinning. I think he's fucking wasted.
Yeah, probably.
Is what I think it is. Because he's holding his head. He's like, oh my God, I can't even see straight. Mm-hmm. I just need to go to bed.
I liked what he said. Yeah, she's like, are you drunk? No. And then he stumbles. And
he laughs. He's like, only a little.
But I liked what he said about Ser Jorah. I didn't know him well, but I did know this. If he could have chosen a way to die, it would have been protecting you. That was a nice sentiment, I thought.
Yeah, and Dany, her reply is amazing. Well, he loved me, and I couldn't love him back. Not the way he wanted. Not the way I love you. And she
is that all right?
Pulls in close to her. And I love that she asks that permission because I think that Dany has grown up with the Targaryen stories, that it's not so uncommon for her in her family's history to hear that, oh, this guy married his sister and this guy married his, she was
supposed to marry Viserys for a long time before being sold to Drogo.
That's true. That's true. So I think she's asking the permission, like, is that all right that I love you even though we're still related? Right? Like, because I know that this is maybe kind of my family heritage, but it's certainly not yours.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem too upset about it. He moves in for the kiss, even like pushes her forward, like intense about kissing her, and starts trying to like undress her.
But then he pulls away.
Oh, I thought that she was trying to stop him, and he was like,
no, I thought she was trying to undo his belt. And then as she's undoing his belt, he kind of like realizes, like he kind of snaps out of his drunkenness. And he's like, oh.
I'll have to watch it again closely to see.
I wish you'd never told me. If I didn't know, I'd be happy right now.
So he pulls away and she's like, I wish you never told me. Like, I wish that I just didn't know. I'd be happy right now. Like, I tried for a while tonight, and then I saw all of them gathered around you. And I saw the way that they looked at you.
I know that look.
Oh my God. They looked at me that way over in Essos, like down in Marine. They've never looked at me that way here. So I feel like there's a little bit of envy growing inside of Danny.
Right. Totally. He's like, I told you I don't want it.
She's like, it doesn't matter what you want.
Just like Varys said.
Yeah, it's, you have a claim to the throne, and this will grow. It'll eat you alive. And
she's like, you didn't want to be king in the north. What happens when they demand you press your claim and take what is mine? And I was like, wait a second. Are you even listening to yourself talk here? Press your claim. You're admitting he has the better claim. And then you still are saying, take what is mine. Those two thoughts are incompatible with one another. Either he has the better claim, or the throne is yours. Make up your mind. She needs to reconcile with reality and live up, like face up to the truth.
I totally have
she's
that
lying
in my
to
notes.
herself.
I say that she's delusional here.
Yeah.
It's a delusion that she's trying to hold on to the fact that it was hers until this revelation. And she's basically, she's asking him to keep it a secret.
It's so fucked up. It's
fucked
like,
God almighty,
up,
like to ask someone that, but it's the most vulnerable at the same time that we've ever seen Danny.
By far.
For me.
By far.
She's begging him, like, I want this so bad. Like,
right.
Can you just lie about who you are so I can sit on a freaking sword chair?
He's like, I'll refuse. You're my queen, I don't know what else I can say. And this is when she like kind of loses her shit. She's like,
you can say nothing to anyone ever. Never tell them who you really are. Swear your brother and Samuel Tarly to secrecy and tell no one else. Or it will take on a life of its own and you won't be able to control it or what it does to people. No matter how many times you bend the knee. No matter what you swear.
She's like freaking out. And John is like, he reacts. He stands up and stumbles backwards, like shocked by this. And I'm thinking, how could she ask this of him? It's so cruel. He's lived his life as a bastard with the shame of being a bastard. And now he has a last name and he has an identity, and you want to take it away from him for your own selfish reasons? Fuck that. Like reconcile with reality. You need to deal with yourself. That's what you need to do. You don't need to. She's telling him to not be who he is so they can be together. The most important part about a partnership and like a relationship is that you accept each other for who they are. You love the person for
who they are.
Yeah, and she's like bailing on that core concept of a relationship. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
I know. I this is where I feel that she's starting to unravel a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think Varys sees it, because this is exactly what Varys is talking about, her unraveling in regards to this.
Well, he watches her in the scene at the banquet when Jon has all those people around him, and
he sees
she's
her
looking
smile
over
fade.
at Tyrion and looking over at Jon, and she's realizing how alone she is, and Sansa gets up and walks away, and she kind of gets lost in her thoughts for a minute, and Varys is focused on Dany. He's not focused on anything else going on in that room. He is focused on her.
Yep.
He's the only one that notices that she gets up to leave.
Exactly.
The only one.
We'll talk more about that later. I thought that was kind of significant, paralleling or mirroring the way she's felt her whole life, isolated, alone, cast out in Essos, and then here she is in this banquet after a massive victory, alone, with nobody around her. Even her hand is with another group of people. People are talking about Jon being a king and riding dragons, and nobody's recognizing her. Although Tormund did give a toast to her. To the Dragon Queen,
Yeah,
and then,
but it was a toast, and then he had like this big, long, elaborate story about Jon.
But he does know Jon better. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
It makes sense. Like, he knows the story with Jon, and I saw him riding that thing. We'll talk more about that later. That was a great moment. Yeah. But it's like you said, she's starting to lose it here, right?
Yeah, and she just like, I just want it to be the way it was.
Yeah,
and I understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
Like I understand, like, can we just like forget this ever happened? Can we just go back to me being on the Iron Throne and you being the love of my life? Like,
and
I get that.
And he's willing to do it. He's like, I don't want the throne. Like, it's cool. Just let me be me, and I'm not going to do anything.
But I do have to tell my family.
Right. I owe them the truth.
I owe it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness to Dany, Sansa has not been very nice to her.
Right.
She's like, she will want me gone the moment you tell her. And she wants you on the Iron Throne. She wants nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I feel this is where Jon is in a little bit of denial.
Yep. She won't. Like, yeah,
she's
she
not
will.
The girl you grew up with, dude.
That's true.
She's a fucking bitch right now.
She was a bitch when Jon grew up with her, though.
That's true.
She's just a more smart bitch.
She's resting.
Sorry
bitch.
to all the Sansa fans out there. I don't mean to talk too bad about Sansa.
I know. I love Sansa.
The B word
but
may be a little harsh.
I'm having a really hard time with Sansa this season.
Sure. And so
I love her, but I'm having a hard time with her.
Yeah, she was growing on me for a while there too. But she's like, yeah, like not after what she's seen, not after what they've done to her. And Jon says, I owe them the truth. And this is like one of the most powerfully delivered lines of the series. I think even just thinking about it right now, I'm like almost choked up with the way that Dany says it.
I owe them the truth.
Even if the truth destroys us.
It won't.
It will.
Even if the truth destroys us, like the way her voice cracks when she delivers that line is just like so powerful. It was like really hit me when she said it.
Just got shivers.
Yeah. And he's like, it won't. But it will, she says. And oh my God, remember you said she's begging. She says, I've never begged for anything before, but I'm begging you. Don't do this. Please. And I thought this was very significant because the word beg has connotations for Dany. When she was growing up, they had the stigma of Viserys. Viserys was known as the beggar king. And she says she's never begged for anything. But here she is begging to keep her crown, a beggar queen in this moment. And like she hates Viserys, but she's doing what Viserys did kind of in this moment because she's so desperate. And just the fact that she would stoop to Viserys's levels shows you how desperate she is. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn, dude.
Yeah. And Jon, he takes his hands and puts them on her face. And you are my queen. Nothing will change that. And they are my family. Which is true. Mm-hmm. Not siblings, but they are still his family.
We can live together.
We can live together. She's like, yeah, we can. I've just told you how.
Yeah, and she just like, boom, like all emotion gone in that moment.
And she's right. She's right, because what does Sansa do? Like 10 seconds after Jon tells her.
Yep.
She goes and tells Tyrion. So.
Yep, she's right. Sansa's also right that she should have waited and not attacked immediately. Lost Rhaegal because of it, you know? Like, everybody's right about certain things in this episode and wrong about certain things. You know, lots of gray. Nothing's perfectly black or white.
Shades of gray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not 50, maybe like 40.
No, I'm thinking like maybe like
hundreds.
50,000. Yeah, so many shades of gray. Except for the Night King. He's just pure one or the other, pure evil. No
evil.
Gray with him.
Nice.
But yeah, like he's like, we can live together. And she's like, we can. I just told you how. And I'm like, dude, by not letting you be you, like that's fucked up, Dany. We can be together, but you can't be who you are. You got to be somebody else.
I find it funny because she's like the breaker of chains and she's like this kind of image of freedom. And then she's asking the one that she loves the most to like.
She's putting him
basically just be oppressed. And
exactly. She's putting him in like mental bondage, identity bondage where he can't be who he is. It's so fucked up.
It is pretty fucked up. Well, that's all I had for my number one. What is your number one?
My number one is kind of long.
Okay.
So we can collaborate because it's going to cover a good portion of the episode.
Okay.
But it is the deaths of Rhaegal and Missandei. the two shocking deaths of this episode are my number one.
Oh my God.
Which were brutal and shocking. So it starts with an overhead shot of a Targaryen ship, and Rhaegal flies over the top of it. And then it cuts to Dany and Drogon, and the music is happy as Rhaegal is looking healthier and everything like that. And Dany's smiling like, he's getting stronger, you know? And then the music cuts out all of a sudden as a bolt nails him right in the chest. And like I said, his head starts to wobble and it starts to turn, like roll. And another one to the wing, third one to the neck. And he goes, and blood comes shooting out of his mouth. And I'm like,
oh my God, that was
my
awful.
God, it's so painful to watch. It was like so shocking that I was just like too dumbfounded even to to react. You know what I mean? I was just like, what is happening? And
I know. It hurts my mind.
he goes completely limp before he even hits the water. I feel like he's dead before he even hits the water.
Totally dead before he hits the water.
And he just, boom, like nails the water. How did they accomplish that effect of him hitting the water?
I don't know. They had to drop something really heavy into water.
Yeah, like, damn, I was really impressed by the way that turned out. Really amazing. So we get a close-up of a Kraken crossbow. And I was like, oh my God, a Kraken ballista. So last season, the ballista that Qyburn created had 2 arms for tension that, you know, pull back and boom, launch the bow.
This one had 4.
This one has 6.
It had 6? Oh my God, I didn't see the other 2.
Yeah, it has the 2 regular ones and then the 4 that you noticed, which are X-shaped.
Oh my God.
Additionally. And
shit.
if you look really closely at them, this is a detail which I thought was really fucking cool. They added these little suction cups looking things on the 4
like an
things.
octopus or like a squid.
Like a kraken.
Like a kraken?
Yeah, a
Oh my God,
cephalopod
that's crazy.
style suction cups on those things, so it looks like the tentacles of a kraken, which
That's
fits
so
perfectly
badass.
because it's Greyjoy stuff, you know? I was like, dude, the attention to detail of this was just amazing. Really great design.
And it's way, way bigger than the scorpion that Qyburn had
Huge.
at Bronn had at the loot train.
Yeah, it's much bigger, which makes it more powerful like anyway, but then the addition of the 4 extra arms, just giving it even more tension and more strength, just next level. And the other thing is that these bolts, I watched the game revealed on this episode. When the bolts launch, they have like these barbs that stick outwards, 4 of them, and then it spins and rotates through the air.
The boat is a nice design, bit of a more barbaric style. When you see it first, it'll be in its closed mode, and when you see it the second time, once it fires the projectile, it leaves the limb, it opens up and it'll rotate, so it will rip open anything that it hits.
And like if you get hit by this thing, it's like getting hit with a cannonball, basically. Like it just shreds whatever it hits.
Just shreds your insides.
Oh, like if it hit a human, like it would split you into like
a million pieces.
Yeah, like you would not be a human anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like it shredded those boats like nobody's business, right?
Yeah,
so,
that was intense.
Yeah. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is so horrible as Rhaegal is dead and sinks into the water and Dany freaks out, just like Jon did at the Battle of the Bastards. You know, Rickon gets hit with the arrow and he just makes a beeline straight for Ramsay. Dany does the same thing here. She screams and dives in a rage with Drogon at Euron's ships, and they're all aiming at her, and I'm like, no, don't do this. It's so stupid.
Like, go around the back.
Yeah.
They're not at the back.
And Euron, just like Bronn at the loot train, is like lining up the shot and everything. Boom, launches. They all fire in unison, all these ships, and there's just these giant bolts just like launching past, and she like turns the last second with Drogon and narrowly avoids losing Drogon as well and herself. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, I already went through the whole thing. Like, Drogon got hit, then Viserion got hit. Like, she should have known better. Now, because she is a dumbass, 2 of her children are dead because she did nothing to protect them. Like, at least Jon sent Ghost somewhere where he'd be safe.
True.
Even if he was a dick about it, right? But Dany,
True.
Dany did nothing. Like, she had every opportunity to have
I
armor
know they had
commissioned.
like all these blacksmiths in Winterfell, like forging really special weapons, like with dragon glass. They could have like made some
Right. She
plate
knew
for them.
Yeah, she knew that the Night King used a single spear to take out Viserion, yet they didn't give the dragons any armor when they knew they were going to face the Night King and his minions who would all have these spikes.
Really
these
stupid.
really
Like,
stupid.
even from like from all of her advisors, like Tyrion, Jon, I mean everybody.
Right. It's so stupid. So when these bolts open up, like the spikes that I was talking about at the end, they're like a foot wide basically or more. So it's like super
Shit.
insane. And now all the scorpions go and target the fleet. And they start unloading on the fleet.
Oh,
and,
man.
And these boats are just being shredded, like total
Shredded
destruction.
apart. I thought Tyrion was a goner.
A goner, yeah. And Grey Worm's, the scene had started out with him and Missandei like holding
I knew
hands
something
on
was
the
going to
deck.
happen with one of the two of them.
I know,
for sure.
they totally baited us. We all thought that Grey Worm was going to die, and then they have Missandei get captured from the skiff, I guess. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, nobody saw that coming, you know what I mean?
Nobody,
yeah. And so the ship is like, we get this shot of Tyrion running around the ship, and it's just being broken to pieces all around
He's
him.
wigging.
And he's like, I just need to get out of here. And he jumps off into the water, and then a mast seems to fall right on his head.
I know. I was like, oh no.
Man. So then it cuts to the shore as people are swimming out of the water, like crawling out of the water onto the shore of Dragonstone.
Did you see
yeah.
Varys?
Coughing up a lung. And Tyrion is on his stomach like, ugh. And then Grey Worm comes out and he just begins desperately calling for Missandei. And
so sad.
Screaming, and goes back into the water to try to find her. And then we find out that she is in King's Landing, which we'll get to in a little bit. But next is we'll talk about the reveal of that later, but next we get the big showdown where we have a tiny little group of Unsullied. There's like 50 guys out there.
I think that's all she had left.
Yeah, and Dany's standing there, and Drogon's lurking off in the background. Because the rest of them are with Jon,
right?
Yeah.
Marching on the King's Road.
And so I'm sitting here. This is a perfect opportunity for Cersei to wipe out Dany and everybody, that like all of her team right here. Because Drogon is well within firing range here. Dany.
I know. I said to Dave, I'm like, why is Drogon there?
Right. He's like, well within range.
Why is he there?
Same with Dany. Everybody there is well within range of those ballistas. All they had to do was just start shooting. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't Cersei just shoot them all?
Because she's crazy. I have no idea. I thought the same thing, though, because then we probably wouldn't have a show. But
yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, if you're going to have a show, don't make Dany come that close. It doesn't make any sense.
I know.
Because she would have been taken out, So another little bit of a plot hole there as to why they were that close. Because she could have easily wiped out Dany and the Last Dragon there if she had just acted. All she had to do was just give the signal. So the gate rattles and opens up, and Qyburn comes out. Tyrion goes to meet him, and they have that hold my lord thing, like with Sansa earlier, but Tyrion is the one that doesn't respond this time. And then he says, Queen Daenerys demands Cersei's unconditional surrender and the immediate release of Missandei of Naath. And Qyburn responds with the exact opposite. Queen Cersei demands Daenerys' unconditional surrender. If she refuses, Missandei of Naath will die here and now. And Tyrion's like, come on, you're rational. And he's like, I do flatter myself so. Which is funny.
Qyburn's weird.
Yeah, he's cool. And so they're talking like, this is maybe our last chance to avoid carnage. Help me. I don't want to hear the sounds of children burning. I don't want to hear it.
No, it's not a pleasant sound.
Yeah. Help me save the city. And he's like, I'm only a mouthpiece for our queen. And Tyrion's like, your queen? And he's like, Cersei's the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, dude. You're one of her subjects. So they're, arguing. And it becomes apparent that nothing's going to happen. He's like, we understand nothing of the sort after Tyrion says that her reign is over and that they understand this. And he's like, your queen's last dragon is vulnerable. Your armies are battle weary and depleted, whereas we've been reinforced with the Golden Company and we're stronger than ever. And he's like, I'm done with this conversation. He goes to walk up to Cersei. I thought he was going to walk right through the gate. I was like, dude, what
really?
are you doing?
I wasn't sure what he was doing. And I thought if he survived the boat, this is where he was going to meet his end.
Right. Again, why didn't she just shoot him here and kill Missandei? Then Dany would be without a hand and a best friend. And she'd be acting crazy and more vulnerable to a strategic attack.
And shoot everybody, like you said.
Just
like,
shoot them all. They're right there.
I think because she's so cocky right now. That's the only thing I can really think of is she is obsessed with the game and not necessarily like winning. You know what I mean? Like she likes the drama of it and not like, what would she do if there wasn't anybody coming after her throne?
That's funny.
Like seriously, it's Cersei we're talking about. It's not Dany who wants to like have a peaceful reign. It's Cersei.
Right.
Like,
she likes the chaos.
She likes the
battles
shit
and stuff. So as Tyrion approaches, the captain of the guard is getting everybody with their bows ready, and they're knocked and drawn and everything. And Cersei has her hand up and just decides not to do it, apparently, and not to fire. So Tyrion goes
again. She decides not to kill Tyrion.
Yeah, and so Tyrion has like this big monologue about how like obviously she doesn't care about her people. They don't care about her. They all hate each other. But he says to her, "But you're not a monster." And I'm like, "Yeah, she is, Tyrion.
Yes, she is.
You
what
know
are you
that.
Talking about?
Yeah, even she knows that. She was talking about Myrcella, right?
She was good. From her first breath, she was so sweet. I don't know where she came from. She was nothing like me. No meanness, no jealousy, just good.
I know.
I thought if I could make something so good, so pure, maybe I'm not a monster.
Not a monster like me, she's implying, you know?
Yeah.
So even she knows she's a monster. And so Tyrion's bringing up like the kid and everything. He's like, if not for yourself, like then for your child.
Do you think Euron Greyjoy heard Tyrion talking about
that's what I was wondering. Euron's right there. If
and he's not like screaming either, so they can clearly hear each other with like normal, like
voices,
voice tone.
I thought that was a problem. Actually, that took me out of the moment. Tyrion was not speaking loud enough for her to hear. On the game revealed, they revealed that platform was like 47 feet tall. And so at that volume with wind, as you can hear whipping the flags around.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way that she could have heard.
Exactly.
I wonder why they chose to do it that way.
Not sure. So he makes this appeal to her and she kind of looks a little bit conflicted, but then she's like, as she explained it on the game revealed, just because it's Tyrion, she can't give in just because it's Tyrion, and then she would be losing to her little twisted little imp brother. You know what I mean? So it's just that like bit of ego.
I haven't watched the game revealed on this one yet. I didn't even watch Inside the Episode.
It's good. Yeah, I haven't watched that, but I watched Game Revealed. But so she goes over to Missandei and grabs her by the arm. If you have any last words, now is the time. And Missandei sort of pauses for a second, and I was surprised by her last word.
I feel like it was
fitting,
pretty
though.
Poetic because when Dany freed her and got the Unsullied was kind of the first time that Dany ever used the word Dracarys to burn that dude.
Yep.
And Missandei was right there. So I think Dracarys has a deeper meaning to Missandei from a freedom perspective.
And it's also like a signal to Dany. She says it loud enough so that Dany and Grey Worm can hear it. And I think she's basically like
giving her,
like
sending her like
don't
last
lose
love.
your last resolve. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
like follow through.
And the way she said it too, she's like, Dracarys.
Yeah, like take her out. Dragonfire.
Yeah, like do it. Like,
do it.
Fuck this bitch.
I was worried that Drogon was going to start spitting fire at that moment. I thought Drogon might have heard her.
Yeah.
How crazy would that have done?
He just starts like firing out in the background.
Yeah. Blasting everything.
Drogon.
Yeah. So Cersei takes a step back and gives the Mountain the nod, and he sort of steps forward, unsheathing his sword and just baseball bat style just lops her head off.
Oh my God.
And
right the way her body falls.
Yeah, her head bounces off of the floor and then falls off of like the drop down to the ground, and she just falls straight forward right off. And the second that the sword hits her neck, Grey Worm, like, can't even look.
He looks away and he starts crying.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I have written down Grey Worm can't even. Yeah. And Dany is just furious.
She's like, she's unhinged now. Like if she was kind of like losing her center earlier this episode, I don't think she sees red right now.
Yeah, she's got this look on her face like she's so mad, and she sort of like
I don't even fucking care anymore.
She
like,
turns around and you can see as she turns around, she kind of like stumbles to the side, like she's so in such shock that like.
Yeah, I noticed that too. She kind of takes a step off to the side and then straightens back out and walks again.
Yep, like she's off kilter because of this. Like it's rocked her, you could say, and she starts walking away and the camera's trucking backwards, zoomed in on her face, and the performance that she gave here was beautiful. Said so much. Same with Grey Worm. Jacob Anderson, I think his name is. His performance here was incredible. The way
it's
he
unbelievable.
Reacted.
We kind of see it from his perspective too. Like,
right.
It kind of focuses, but I mean, we get Dany too, obviously, but we get more of like the Grey Worm, Missandei.
Right, they're like looking at each other,
angles.
and then she looks at Dany and says, Dracarys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so rugged.
And then Tyrion's like standing there, and you can see her body and her head, like, and there's both like blood like seeping out of it.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
Oh my God. That was probably the worst part.
And you can see, like, before it happens, it does a quick shot of Tyrion's face, and you can see his mouth going, no, like, don't do it, But then it happens, and everybody is just like, oh, God, this is horrible.
This is so fucked.
And so Dany loses a child and her best friend in the same day.
And she looks a hot mess, too.
She looks a hot mess.
It looks like she's been crying, and...
She's disheveled.
I mean, like... I guess they do have makeup in Westeros because like Cersei has the lipstick on.
Sansa.
She's like she's not wearing any makeup. Like she's been crying. Girl's been crying. Her heart is broken.
Definitely. Definitely.
Fuck. I was not expecting to lose really, honestly, anybody
this episode. Damn.
Just after what we came off again, I just feel so stupid. I feel really stupid about that. Like I let my
guard
normal
down.
TV shows, like I just, it's almost like Pavlov's dog type situation where usually after a big scene like
you're
what we
trained
had,
to expect things.
Yeah, I was kind of trained, like I was so taken aback by this episode. Maybe that's why I felt like it wasn't my favorite. Because I'm usually kind of on point when it comes to Game of Thrones.
Right.
And this one just like fucked me over big time.
Sure. So that's it for my number one. Just those two shocking deaths. Anything you want to add before we move on to notes?
R.I.P. Missandei. I loved her as a character.
Me too.
Beautiful, I loved what she
funny,
represented.
Smart. Yeah, she's strong female character who is just she had a lot going for her.
She was kind of the visual representation of what Dany was about.
Right. And if like for Westeros, you could say Samwell is like the heart of that crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For
and
Essos,
Missandei.
Yeah.
Missandei
was the heart of Dany's crew.
Yeah. I'm sad that she's gone. She was great.
Me too. I was not expecting that. I never would have guessed this.
No.
Out of if anything, Grey Worm, I thought she would. Yeah. Like if anything, I thought maybe she would have been like cornered and like killed with Grey Worm simultaneously by whites or something like that. But being captured by Cersei and beheaded by the mountain, never would have guessed that.
No, like completely kind of defenseless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to notes. But first, Season 4 of Sirenicide, featuring me and Archmaester Stitches, gets closer every day. So let's take a quick break to check out the series trailer.
My name is Matthew Finnis, and something terrible has happened to me. An event that has sent me traveling down a road I was never meant to be on. This is my story, and the story of countless others. This is a story of what lies in the shadows of Morston, Texas.
Sirenicide is a serialized horror drama based in the wicked world woven in and around Morston, Texas. The criminal factions and dark government agencies are just the start of the malevolence that roams the streets of this macabre city. The tales in Sirenicide tap into the fear and lore that envelop what most would consider to be fiction.
How much more is out there? Is every monster real?
Most tales are based on some fact.
The production plays host to a plethora of popular personalities from other nightmarish podcasts.
Oh, it's Lena. Lena Klein.
Just a number now. That's it. 447.
I bet you believe in yellow eyes now, huh, boy?
Thanks to the research team here at the Laughlin Institute, we have finally found the answer to beating disease entirely.
What have I done? Kate, help me, please.
That's not me. His body is accepting death.
Evil has reigned unchecked in this city for far too long.
The main cast of Sirenicide's creepy, courageous, and curious characters evolve with the overarching story, but they also chronicle some amazing self-contained, standalone tales.
It's vile. Eddie, vile.
Reporting live, I'm Margaret Sharp. Back to you, Dave.
An operating theater. Well, more of a stage to showcase our talents to our clients.
Look at me, please. We'll climb this mountain together.
The original music serves the episode's atmosphere in a way that embraces and enhances each scene. So uncover the dark secrets, evil murders, supernatural experiences, and mysterious doctors awaiting in this modern epic. Binge the show for free right now on your favorite podcast platform or at Sirenicide.com.
All right, I'm at the top of the episode,
Yep.
the big funeral.
Same here. It starts out panning up Jorah's body, the
With
mass
John's
funeral.
horrible,
What was that?
horrible speech.
Oh, you didn't like it? I thought it was great.
I think he's so bad at speaking in public. Like, I thought it was great for John, but I felt like it was out of character for him.
That's funny. So we get this massive funeral and there's pyres just everywhere. And Dany's devastated over Jorah and Sansa is devastated over Theon. And she never got the chance to say goodbye to him. We learn in Game Revealed. David Nutter, I think, went up to her before they shot this and told her that was a big factor here, that she never got to tell him that he was like a Stark. That's
why she puts that little pin on his.
She gives him the Stark pin. And Jaime, I noticed, is by Brienne's side the whole time here, which is sad also. And Ghost is all fucked up. I didn't even recognize him at first because he was all covered with blood.
And his little missing ear.
Yeah, but glad he's alive. And John gives the speech that I really liked. I thought it was, important, mentioning things like how these men and women set aside their differences to fight together and die together so that others could live, and that everyone owes them a debt that can never be repaid for as long as men draw breath. And I liked the way that he tied it into the Night's Watch.
Me too. I did like that part for sure.
It's like they all became the Night's Watch for a moment,
They were the shields that guarded the realms of men.
And we shall never see
their like again.
So good. Oh, that kind of rhymed.
Why don't do you want to do his speech as our last words?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have last words?
No.
we can just kind of go line by line and just repeat it.
Yeah, we can alternate lines. Sounds good to me.
Okay, cool.
So we see poor legendary little Lady Lyanna Mormont.
Oh, and I thought it was really poetic because his mom is named Lyanna.
Right.
And it, like, the North and the Stark line, and he's having to accept that he's a Targaryen. So I felt like the physical burning of Lyanna's body was kind of like a visual representation of the struggle that he's kind of been going through the past few episodes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I like that. And we get a crazy shot from above looking down at Jorah on the pyre as the flames are beginning to lick up around him. And apparently these are real flames, and Ian Glenn is really lying there.
What?
And they just have a piece of glass.
The hero's lying down. We did a process of toughened glass and bulletproof plastic underneath. And then the hero would go in and put a torch underneath the actor, and then you'd see beneath them, you'd see the flames spread.
There would be flame reacting around the sides of them, but not actually touching them. But because you're seeing the flame through glass, to all intents and purposes, you're seeing flame, which is really extraordinary.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so cool. I was wondering, it was interesting that they showed that exact shot in the game revealed, because as I was watching the episode and watching it, I was like, man, how did they do this? I was wondering how they did it.
Me
They told us
too.
exactly how they did it. So I was like, awesome.
Oh, I have to watch those. I've watched a couple of them. Like, I watched the long one that was like 40 minutes long.
Yeah, for last week.
That's the only one I've watched so
Same
far.
here, except for this one as well. So
Okay.
they light the pyres and it's sad and everything, and it's just super intense scene. And then we move into the Great Hall for the victory feast. As we mentioned, a very well-crafted scene. I don't know if you noticed, I guarantee you didn't notice this. Both David Benioff and D&D were both in this scene as wildlings.
What? Really?
Yeah, they were two of the wildlings with Tormund when Tormund was... I saw him ride that thing. Who would step on a dragon? A madman
Oh my
or
God,
a
I have to
king?
go back and watch that.
Yeah,
I
you can't
have
tell
to
it's
see
them.
it.
They're so like heavily made up with big old beards and everything like that. You really can't
Oh my
tell it's
God,
them.
that's hilarious.
But they're both there with Tormund, which is great.
I love that.
And right off the bat...
Did you notice that the way so we transition into the Great Hall, that the camera like pans down past like the candle chandelier? It was in the first season when they're having the feast
In the
because
pilot episode?
Robert arrived, and when John's like not supposed to be a part of that whole feast.
Right.
That same camera angle is how we start that episode or that scene as
That's
well.
awesome. Good catch.
Yeah. Yeah, but except it
that.
was a very different feel because the first thing we kind of see is Robert like with his, kitchen wenches and everyone's laughing and drinking. And,
Right.
and this scene, it's very somber and very quiet.
At the start,
So
yep.
I loved that little juxtaposition there.
Definitely. Really good catch. So Gendry's asking about Arya. We see Jaime is sitting across from Brienne.
Davos and Tyrion talking about Melisandre.
Yeah, Davos thinking about Melisandre. He's obsessing about it.
Pissed. He wanted to kill her.
Yeah, the last time I saw her, I told her I'd kill her if I ever saw her again. And Tyrion's like, I'm sure you had your reasons. I did. I do. And so Tyrion asks, like, so did you kill her? And he's like, never got the chance. I'm like, lie! You totally had the chance. You had her alone in the catwalk, and you let her go.
You let her go.
You stepped aside and bowed, basically, to let her move past you. And so he mentions she did it to herself, or her god did it to her. And I was like, thinking about it, I was like, the first time, remember in the Red Woman, season 6, episode 1, the first time Melisandre was at the wall at Castle Black, and she took off her necklace, and we saw her naked body, and she laid down in bed. I wonder if she thought that she was going to die then. Like, obviously, she was ready to die for sure, but maybe she thought that this was that moment, that was the moment that she was going to die. But this actually was that moment. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I like that take because she was kind of defeated at that moment.
Yeah. So Davos is like the Lord of Light mystery is like eating at him. He's like, I don't get it. Like the Lord of Light, we play his game, we win his war, and we fight and win his war, and then he just fucks off. No signs, no blessings.
I love that. Then he just fucks off.
Yeah. Who knows what he wants? And Tyrion's trying to cheer him up, but he's like, what if I don't want to be happy? And he's like, oh, then you're in the right place because we may have defeated the dead, but we still have us to contend with. And I thought that was a good point. Back to business as usual. Factions between Man, Cersei down in King's Landing, etc. And so Tyrion goes over and sees Bran in his wheelchair, and he's impressed because it's even cooler than, like, even more like badass than the saddle that he designed for him.
Yeah.
And
so we find out that is it Daron
Targaryen, yeah.
Daron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that wheelchair. Like somehow Bran got it shipped up to Winterfell.
I don't think it's not the same one, but it's the same as the one that Daron Targaryen built.
Oh, I must have not heard it correctly when I listened to it because I thought he said it's the same one.
Yeah, the same.
I was like,
as
oh damn, he probably searched out wheelchairs.
No, I think that was the only other wheelchair that like basically ever existed in Westeros.
Got it. That makes
so he was just
way
looking back
more
through
sense.
like the memory type thing and saw this and was like, oh, I could use that.
I could use that.
Had it commissioned, and it's so cool, but it's also so sad that this tech was lost to time and never got popular because I'm sure there have been other people whose legs didn't work and stuff like that. And
sure.
Nobody ever got to use this. So Tyrion's like, this is amazing. Like, you know our history better than anyone. That'll be so useful when you're Lord of Winterfell, or as Lord of Winterfell. And he's like, I'm not, though.
I'm not Lord
you
of
told Peter
Winterfell.
Baelish. Yeah. He's like, wait, you're the last surviving true-born son, but you don't want it, he realizes. And he's like, I don't really want anymore. And Tyrion's like, woof, like, I envy you. And
this made me sad.
yeah, he's like, you shouldn't envy me. Mostly I live in the past. Which makes sense because there's so much more past than there is present, you know, like there's infinite, like the present infinitely, you know, in the past. So he's just, you know, he's just all over the place in time. And the present is so small relative to the span of everything that it makes sense that most of everything is the past, right?
Yeah.
So he gets wheeled off by Wolken. He kind of like looks back and I think Wolken takes that as his signal to wheel him away. So Tormund is trying to get Jon to chug, and he's not into it, which is funny. There's a funny line.
Vomiting is not celebrating.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, exactly. Hilarious. And this is when Tormund toasts Dany to the Dragon Queen. And I love this. Dany toasts to Arya. So epic. To Arya Stark, the hero of Winterfell. And I was like, damn, that's a great title. And the crowd goes crazy. And this was interesting because the Hound sort of looked like blasé about Gendry's legitimization. You know, he kind of like rolled his eyes at it.
He didn't even stand up. He was still eating when everyone else stood up.
Yeah,
he was
like,
still chowing down on his food.
Rolled his eyes.
His chickens.
But here, when they mention the hero of Winterfell, he looks proud and like sort of nods.
He laughs.
Yeah, nods his head like she deserves it. And I think that he sort of feels pride for having helped Arya become the badass that she is now. So it's like,
oh, totally.
It's like a victory for him as well, I feel. And as Tormund is like toasting and chugging his wine, he's like dumping it into his face, and his mouth is like, like chewing it as it's just spilling all over him. And this is when Dany and Jon,
cracking up.
Yeah, Dany and Jon are smiling at each other, and Sansa sees it and leaves disgusted. And I'm like, "Fuck is your problem, Sansa?" And then Pod and Tyrion and Jaime and Brienne are playing Tyrion's drinking game from season 2. And
you were an only child.
Yeah, and slowly,
I told you I was.
all of these like uncomfortable facts start being brought up, like the fact that Brienne danced with Renly. That's not something that she wanted us to talk about.
No,
you know?
And she looked over at Pod, and he's like, "I didn't tell him."
Right. And then Tormund is talking about Jon riding the dragon, and that whole scene that we mentioned. Dave and Dan sitting there, and the crew.
I have to watch that again.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Watch
I
behind
love that
the
it
scenes.
keeps panning back to Dany too when he's talking about riding the dragon.
And you can see she's like looking over warily, like worried about her claim. And because Jon, they've had the discussion. So Jon knows he's the rightful king, but he doesn't want to, you know, like. So when Tormund says, like, I saw him riding that thing, he's like, what does he say? He says, what kind of person climbs on a fucking dragon? A madman or a king? That's who, you know? And
did you notice that the camera panned to Dany when it said a madman, and then it turned back to Jon when Tormund said a king?
Oh, damn, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But John, immediately having heard something about himself being referred to as a king, looks over at Danny because
and
like
smiles at her like,
yeah,
I don't
like,
want it.
I don't want
want
it. I know. I know you're thinking that they're going to make me king, but I don't want it. I liked Tormund's rant here too, openly talking about John's death and resurrection. Most people get bloody murdered. They stay that way. Not this one.
Well, I didn't have much to say in that situation.
Yeah. He comes back and keeps fighting. Here, north of the wall, then back here again. He keeps fighting. He keeps fighting. He climbed on a fucking dragon and fought. You know, he's just spilling his drink everywhere. And so when John looks over at Danny after they mention him as a king, she like turns and like fakes a smile. But then as it sinks in and the sad music starts playing, as it closes up on her face, her smile like slowly fades into a frown. And this is when she
kind of
gets
like
up and
stares
leaves.
off into the distance too. Like she's not really blinking. She's just like in her own head.
Yeah, and she's all alone. Like there's isolated pockets of people congregated everywhere else, but it like I was
one's
mentioning
celebrating
earlier,
with her.
Right. She must feel like she's felt like her whole life being separated, alone, no one at her side. You know, and she gets overwhelmed and gets up to leave. And Varys is the only one watching her, like you said, and saw like the expressions on her face and everything like that. And he does not look happy about this. He looks very nervous about her mind state. And so next we have another uncomfortable truth being revealed, but this time for Tyrion. You were married before Sansa. And he looks at Jaime like, and Jaime looks at him like, that's true, drink. And he's like, like, that's uncomfortable too. That whole Tysha situation.
Yeah.
Oof.
Awkward,
yeah. And then Brienne's like, has like a gaping smile, like ridiculous smile for Brienne. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh God, like something's not going to, you know, that smile is not going to be there by the end of the episode, you know?
For Brienne.
Yeah, really sad for Brienne. Jaime's smiling too. So much smiling for Brienne. And then Tyrion brings up a real awkward one for Brienne.
There's almost like a realization, like you're a virgin.
Yeah, like he realizes it and says it, and she kind of like stops in her tracks and pauses for a second and gets up and says, "I have to piss."
I have to piss.
A hilarious line for like, you know, she's Lady Brienne. She's very ladylike, you know, aside from fighting. And then she says, "I have to piss," which I thought was just, you know, funny language to be using. And Jaime looks at Tyrion like, what the fuck, dude? Why'd you say that, you know? And then Tormund comes up as Bran's standing. We did it. We faced those icy fucks, looked them into their blue eyes, and here we are.
Now which one of you cowards shit in my pants? Everyone's like, what the fuck?
Bran's like,
awkward.
Yeah, please pardon me for a moment, and like kind of shoves past him, and he goes to follow her. And right after the talk of her being a virgin, I think there was the question that, you know, Tormund might try to get a little frisky with her because he's wasted, you know? So Jaime kind of like tries to protect her from Tormund, I think, and stands up and gets in his way. Taps him on the shoulder and walks off to follow Brienne. And Tormund looks devastated. Oh my God.
His little face, he's like, wait.
Like Dany's face.
Happened?
Yeah, he went from smile to frown. Tormund's face did that same thing here. And Tyrion pours his own drink into Tormund's horn like, you're going to need this.
I love how he just like looks at him doing it. He's like.
Yeah, it was really funny.
And then cheerses it.
Yeah, and Tormund, who was like the most boisterous and happiest guy in the room a second ago, his mood is just like ruined and he sulks off and
just
like,
takes
wow.
her like that.
I was so surprised.
Clegane, yeah, my heart is broken.
I mean it, Clegane. Like, first of all, it starts off with him like pouring out his soul to somebody. And out of everybody that he could be talking to, I think the last person you'd like imagine would be listening to some shit like this would be Sandor Clegane, right? So the camera pans out as he says, I mean it, Clegane. And it's like a funny reveal that he's confiding in Sandor, who doesn't give a shit.
He's the most loner of them all.
Yeah. And Sandor's like, don't touch me. And then a wildling or a girl comes up and she's like, you can touch me. I'm not afraid of wildlings. And at least Tormund didn't feel too sad for too long because he cheers right up.
He's like, oh, okay. Let's go drown our sorrows, Clegane.
Yeah. I'm not done with my drink. And so he goes off, and then this girl, this is interesting. This girl comes up to talk with Sandor, and he like brushes her away basically and like growls at her basically to get her to leave eventually when she's not getting it at first. And I thought this was poignantly or strategically placed back to back with the Brienne virgin revelation, because I've said on the podcast a long time ago, I think that Sandor is a virgin as well.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
I've speculated it for a very long time. It fits his character. He never lets anyone get close to him. He has never had an intimate moment on any level with anyone that we've ever seen. I think he's a virgin. I don't think he's ever let anybody get close to him like that. I think you could be
definitely onto something for sure.
Yeah, I think so. He's never been intimate on any level with anyone except for when he tried to save Sansa and he like kind of broke down in front of her. Right? And this whole time as this girl comes over to Tormund and then as this girl comes over to the Hound, it shows Sansa watching Sandor. And we haven't seen them interact yet.
No,
since,
I said that when we were watching it to Dave. I was like, oh, this is their reuniting right here.
Yeah. And so she's kind of watching as all this is playing out, which I thought was interesting because he, the girl goes away and he's like, this is my drink, like the big drink, like get away from me.
It's like the big flagon.
Yeah. And so Sansa walks up and she's been watching or eyeing him the whole time. And she's like, she could have made you happy for a little while. He's like, there's only one thing that'll make me happy. And of course, killing Gregor.
Yep. He has some unfinished business.
Yeah. She's like, what's that? And he's like, that's my fucking business. And gets like all, like up in her grill, basically. Like it's an attack. Like that's what he does. He pushes people away. Right. But for the first time, Sansa's unfazed with him by that. And she's making eye contact with him the whole time, doesn't break eye contact at all with him. And Sandor takes note of this. He's like, used to be, you couldn't look at me. That was a long time ago. I've seen much worse than you since then. And again, he's like trying to push her away. Yeah, I've heard you were broken in, heard you were broken in rough. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's like, like you're really trying to push her away.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. But again, she's unfazed and doesn't break eye contact with him at all. And he got what he deserved. I gave it to him. Right? And he's like, how? And this is so funny. She says, hounds.
Hounds.
And I was thinking to myself, like, hounds were Sansa's solution. I wonder if that could be a broader statement for Sansa. I've speculated before that Sansa and Sandor could end up as a couple. And, I'm still keeping that on the table, basically.
It could be. She does touch his hand.
Right, in like a very intimate way. And he's like, you've changed, little bird. And I think Sandor likes Sansa even more than he did before at this point, because she's a badass now. And he likes that. And she tells to him, he says, none of it would have happened if you'd left King's Landing with me. No Littlefinger, no Ramsay, none of it. And this is when, like, he's like, I would have kept you safe. I would have protected you. Like, you should have come with me. You could have trusted me, basically, is what he's saying. And this is when she reaches over and, like, grasps his hand and holds it. And he looks down at it and then looks back up at her. And she tells him, and it's like, she grasps his hand. It's like seemingly recognizing that, yes, I know you tried to save me and that you care. And like, she's acknowledging that. And it's like this warm, intimate moment between the two of them. And he doesn't pull his hand away. He doesn't reject her advance like he did with the girl a minute ago. Yeah, very telling, I think. And she tells him, without Littlefinger, Ramsay, and all the rest, I would have stayed a little bird all my life. AKA, without all the trauma, I still wouldn't be able to look at you. And maybe, AKA, you still wouldn't have a chance with me. I don't know if that was an underlying hint that she was there, but she kind of like gives him the eyes. I thought a little bit like sort of like flickers a smile.
She's giving Theon the eyes. She's giving Sandor the eyes.
Yeah, and he sort of and she gets up and walks away, and he sort of like chuckles and smiles. And I thought that was cool. Like, I like that interaction between the two of them, that they both, they're leveling, and they're on the same team now. And it just, Sansa's come so far, and it was good to see that she understands now that he really did want to help, I feel like. So, good moment for the two of them.
Really good moment between the two of them, for sure.
Definitely. So
Here's
then,
the thing for the Stark girls.
yeah. And then Gendry seeks out Arya,
Don't
right?
shoot.
Yeah, she blasts an arrow right by his face.
And he's all jazzed up. His eyes are wide. And
yeah, he's so stoked.
he's like, why aren't you celebrating with us?
Yeah.
She's like, I am celebrating.
He's like, I am too.
He's like, I am too. I'm not Gendry. Rivers, I thought Rivers was the wrong name, though. I'm not sure what it should be, but Rivers was for the Riverlands, right?
Let's look it up. Let's see. I don't remember. Bastardy. Okay. Rivers is the Riverlands. Like you said, let's look at Riverlands on the map. Riverlands does not seem to encompass King's Landing. Waters. That's what it would be, right? Waters.
It's Waters. Yep.
So that's funny. They fucked up there.
Let's see if I can expand it and put it up here.
Yeah,
There's
that's
King's
right.
Landing
Waters,
there.
because
Waters.
Cersei hires a guy named Waters for Orain Waters to run her fleet. Yeah, he should be a Waters. 2 fuck ups in this episode, HBO. That Jon is the heir because he's a male, and that Gendry would be a Rivers. 2 big fuck ups. 2 big fuck ups, guys.
He's all proud. He's like, I'm Gendry Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End, by order of the Queen. And I love Arya is like really honestly happy
excited for him. Congratulations.
Wow, congratulations. Like,
She's
that's
so
amazing.
Stoked. He's like, I don't know how to be the lord of anything. I hardly
even
know how to use a fork. All I know is that you're beautiful and I love you, and none of it would be worth anything if you're not with me. And this is what reminded me of Robert and his love for Lyanna, who Arya is said to look like. Robert loved her and loved her so much that even 7 kingdoms couldn't fill the hole that she left behind. And here, Gendry's saying the same thing. None of it would be worth anything if you're not with me. All 7 kingdoms wouldn't mean anything if you're not with me. You know what I mean? So I just felt like this is like makes perfect sense.
I love that parallel. That's awesome.
Oh, it was so intense. That quote from that episode in season 1, like the 7 kingdoms couldn't fill the hole she left behind. I was just like, hits me hard every time.
Yeah.
So he's like, he takes a knee. So be with me. Be my wife. Be the Lady of Storm's End. And I was so shocked. She kneels down and kisses him, like.
And pulls him up, though.
Kisses him, yeah. But when she started kissing him, I really thought for a second she was going to say yes. And I was really surprised by that. But
really? I didn't get that vibe at all. I felt like she was leaning down to like kiss him and bring him back up, like get off your knees.
That's what it was.
And,
you're right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you're totally right.
Because this is like, well, she even says it here, you know, that's not her as a character. There's no way that she would agree to go be a lady of anything at this point.
Yeah, and it's that throwback to season 1, Ned. One day you'll be the lady of a holdfast. Your sons will be lords or princes, you know, and she's like, no, that's not me.
I know.
You know,
I'm
great
not a
season
lady.
1 throwback. Yeah, I'm not a lady.
I never have been.
Poor Gendry, man.
I know.
And then she
so
like
sad.
immediately turns away and starts shooting her bow and just like leaves him standing there again.
I loved the last that we're left with is an image of him, and then it cuts away, but the last sound we hear is like an arrow, and I was like, oh, it's like an arrow through the heart.
Yo, that's so, but not
like
Cupid's
thunk.
arrow.
No, but it's like a death arrow.
Yeah, like more like Rhaegal's arrow. Too soon.
Oh,
super fucked up. So she kind of ghosts him here, like Jon does Ghost, just like leaves him standing there, which is
Gendry.
so fucked up. Yeah, sad for Gendry. But he'll be a lord. He can get any girl he wants, so he'll be all right.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I have a feeling that she might not want to be a lady, but she might want to like still hang out with him every once in a while, if you know what I mean.
Did we already go? I think we did. Pod. He like walks off with 2 girls.
We missed that. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize there were 2 girls, but
Yeah, so he like looks at one girl, and then I think it's the girl that Sandor like scares
declines.
away. She like goes over to Gendry, and he puts his arm around both of them and like walks away with both of them. I'm like,
not Gendry, Podrick.
Oh, Podrick. Yeah, sorry, Podrick.
They sort of brought that up in the game revealed thing too. It's like the actor who plays Podrick, he's like, well, after season, I think he's Irish or something. After season 3, rumors have spread, and And it shows him looking over and the girl like giving him the up down, you know, like,
oh yeah, like I know who you are.
yeah, you're that guy, that legendary guy. I want to try, you know. So that was kind of funny. And then we cut to Brienne's chambers, and first thing we see is Oathkeeper hanging on a, you know, like a hat stand or something. And the door, there's a knock, and she opens it, and it's Jamie. And he's like, you didn't drink in the game. Apparently she was faking drinking. She looked drunk as hell to me, though.
I think he was referencing that she didn't drink at the virgin question.
There you go. The last question. Yeah, you're right. Because
I think she was drunk.
Yeah, I agree. Now that you mention that, you're right. You're 100% right. Because as they go on, he says, I've never slept with a knight before. And she says, I've never slept with anyone. And he says, then you have to drink. Those are the rules. Because when I first saw that, I was like, so if you're a virgin, you have to drink to have sex for the first time? No, that doesn't make any sense. You have to drink because you never drank at the last question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So right off the bat, he's like, it's so warm. You keep it warm enough in here, right? And immediately, just any excuse he can find to start taking his clothes off. You know?
I know. And she's kind of like,
walks
what
over
is
towards
happening?
the bed. Yeah. And she's like, whoo. And
it is getting hot in here.
Yeah. And metaphorically. And she's like, that's the first thing she learned, you know, when she got to the north. Every time you leave the room, you got to put more wood on. And he's like, you know what? The first thing I learned in the north is I hate the fucking north. It was just kind of funny. She's like, it grows on you. And he's like, oh.
I don't want things growing on me.
How about Tormund's Giant's Bane? Has he grown on you?
Are you jealous?
Yeah. She's like, he was very sad when you left. She's like, you sound quite jealous. And I do, don't I? He kind of like has a moment where he's like,
here.
Yeah, but like when he says, I do, don't I? He legit seems like surprised at himself, like realizing, oh, I am jealous. You know, this is out of character for me. Yeah, bloody hot in here. And he starts stripping more, but poorly because of his golden hand.
And he's like fighting at it. He's all like,
yeah. So she starts helping him and he starts trying to take her shirt off.
Move aside.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, he starts like trying to fumble with her straps. And she's like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Taking your shirt off, right? And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. Like I knew it from season 3, from that scene in the bathhouse, you know, that there was something between them. And there's been so many hints to it since then, but so many people were like, I
think they would actually do it.
Right. So many people online were like, there's no romantic connection, you know, it's just like an admiration. No, it was romantic. You know, I knew it the whole time. And it comes to fruition here. And as they're both stripping, like, you know, I've never slept with a knight before. Jamie, you've never slept with anybody except Cersei. But it's like saying the knight thing is funny because Brienne is the first female knight. So
exactly,
unless Jamie's
knighted her.
Yeah.
So he knighted her and took her virginity.
Oh my God. And then dumped her like immediately.
Oh,
so fucked up. So fucked up. And so like they, you know, it cuts away and then you have to drink, he says, after she says she's never slept with anyone. Those are the rules. I told you. And they just she starts kissing him and they like making out and like they're both so into it. And even the next day, like when it's not like this is just like a drunken thing for Jamie. He's had a thing for Brienne. The next day he's telling Tyrion and he's like happy about it, you know?
Yeah. He's choosing to stay in the north with her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big deal.
Big deal. Really big deal.
They're already like moving in together.
Yeah. And strategy. Oh, and then it shows at the end of the scene with Dany and Jon, after Dany's like, he's like, we can live together. And she's like, we can. I've just told you how. It cuts to Jamie and Brienne and really ominous music starts playing. And it was well-placed music because it has a double meaning. Ominous for Jon and Dany, but also ominous for Jamie and Brienne as it does the same thing. Remember like 2 episodes ago in that couples montage with the Winterfell, the music playing like the same music it played with snow falling in King's Landing. Arya is lying there in bed with Gendry and her eyes are open and Gendry's asleep. This shot sort of parallels that with Jamie lying there awake and Bran asleep. And just like Arya sort of leaves Gendry, Jamie ends up leaving Brienne as well. And this foreshadows his leaving, this shot with the ominous music. But it was very slick placement of that because it foreshadowed bad things for the future of both of these couples, which, very nicely done directorial decision there.
Yeah, for sure.
So then it cuts to the strategy room, and we're learning that half of basically everything, all of their, their fleets or their armies are gone.
And they are talking about the people, and that, we need to make sure that Cersei's people don't believe what she's telling them. And
right. Yeah. And Dany's like, Cersei will make sure they don't believe that, like, we're the good guys. We'll hit her hard. We'll rip her out root and stem. And Tyrion's like, oh God, like, looks a little bit nervous.
It pans over to Varys.
Yeah, definitely. And Tyrion reminds her the objective is to remove Cersei without destroying King's Landing. And
we find that she is losing allies by the day.
Yeah, exactly. Varys pipes in.
That the Iron Islands have been taken back, and there's a new Prince of Dorne.
Yeah, good for you, Yara Greyjoy. And then, what the hell? New Prince of Dorne? Were there any males? Were there any males left living in House Martell?
I have no idea.
Maybe little kids playing in the water gardens or something that we just never saw.
Maybe. I have no clue who that would be.
We as far as the show goes, we have no information regarding this.
Yeah.
So somebody mentions that no matter how many lords turn against her, as long as she sits on the Iron Throne, she can call herself the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. It's Dany. She says, we need the capital.
And Tyrion, was it Tyrion that said...
about how the people...
Yeah, they'll turn on the Queen
when they're starving.
Winter, like when they're starving. Just give them an opportunity to cast her aside. Like, let's just hold our horses. Like, everyone, let's just calm down. We just fought a bunch of dead people. Like, let's take the time to do this right.
Right. We'll surround the city, Jon says. If the Iron Fleet tries to ferry in more food, the dragons will destroy them. If the Lannisters and the Golden Company attack, we'll defeat them in the field, but we're not going to be offensive against King's Landing. And once the people see Cersei as our only enemy, her reign is over, because they'll know the dragons could destroy them, basically. And so Sansa brings up a good point here. The men that we have left are exhausted. Many of them are wounded. They'll fight better if they have time to rest and recuperate, and that goes for dragons as well. And Dany's just not having any of it. She's like, I came to North to fight alongside you at great cost to my armies and myself. And now that the time is... now the time has come for you to return the favor. You're trying to delay. And Sansa's like, it's not just our people, it's yours too. You want to throw them into a war they're not ready to fight? And it's like, dude, that's a really good point.
I really liked Sansa in this scene.
Yeah.
She's actually logical here. This is a great point.
Yeah, and if Dany had listened, at least Rhaegal would still be alive for the moment. But she's like, the longer we delay, the stronger they become. And Jon kind of turns to Sansa, and the northern forces will honor their promises and their allegiance to the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Basically, do you understand, Sansa? Yeah. What you command, we will obey.
Like, stop doing this to Dany.
And Arya is by Sansa's side this whole time, and I'm thinking, why, right? And we learn that, so we get the plan. Jon and Sir Davos will ride south with the northern troops and the bulk of the remaining Dothraki and Unsullied. Dany and the smaller group will ride to White Harbor, sail south with the dragons accompanying them from above. And we learn Jaime has chosen to remain here as a guest of Lady Winterfell, but really as Brienne's boy toy.
Yep.
And Bran smiles at that, and it's Jaime really seems to like her, and Bran's happy, and I just hate the way that this goes. We had speculated that if something happens and Jaime learns that Cersei's in danger, that he may get triggered and feel like he, his love may be flipped back on, and he may feel obligated to go protect her. And that may be what happens, as we'll discuss shortly. But here, Dany says again, she says, we've won the Great War. Now we will win the last war.
I loved that line.
Yeah,
for
really cool.
The arc of this entire series. We had the Great War, which was a great war. It was what we've been waiting for as fans. But we still have one more, the last war.
Yep.
This is the last battle we will see in Game of Thrones. Period.
Period.
So it's the last war. And I just loved that. I love that closure of that line in this season.
But then she says, in all 7 kingdoms, men will live without fear and cruelty under their rightful queen. And she said rightful queen again. She has already acknowledged that Jon is the heir. So she's lying to herself here, saying that she's the rightful queen. Why is she lying to herself, you know?
Yeah.
So that's then the scene with the Godswood. Sansa's or Arya's like, we need a word, you know? And then we get Sandor riding south on a beautiful horse with those fluffy lower legs. I have in my notes. What's it called, Rachel?
It's a Frisian.
A Frisian. Amazing looking animal. Beautiful.
They're very impressive horses.
Yeah,
for sure.
and its hair on its lower legs is like blowing in the wind and
That's
everything.
how you can tell it's a Frisian. They have like these really high set necks with like really thick manes and tails, and then they have those like hoof feathers.
Cool. So Sandor's like chewing on a piece of jerky or something, and he looks up. Oh, for
he throws it on the ground.
Yeah, and it's Hound and Arya Road Trip version 2.
Do you think they're going to come across Nymeria?
Oh, fucking, I hope so, man. They're going to be traveling right through her territory.
Road.
Yeah. So he pretends not to be happy here, but he's fucking happy to be on the road with Arya
to be back
again.
With her.
He's so happy. Don't lie, Sandor. We see through your bullshit. And
plus, she's like a legitimate fighter now. Like,
right. And that's the other thing, too. Arya's not a lady. She won't marry Gendry and be a lady of a castle. But her and Sandor are like 2 ass-kicking killer peas in a pod, right? Could they end up as a couple eventually?
Maybe.
I mean, in the books, it would be kind of fucked.
An odd couple,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, in the books, it would be kind of fucked because she's really young. But here, she's a little older, and they're very similar, and they're...
Not like a traditional couple.
Yeah, think about it. They're 2 people, side by side, going down to King's Landing to attack 2 other people who are side by side. It's Arya and the Hound going down there to attack Gregor and Cersei. You know what I mean? So it's like they're like aligned with each other in so many different ways.
It could totally happen.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So she's like, on your own? He's like, not anymore. I don't like crowds. She's like, me neither. Why not? They all love you now. You're the big hero. Don't like heroes. Must have felt good sticking a knife in that horned fucker.
It felt better than dying.
So blasé about the whole thing. It's hilarious. And so they both discover they're both heading down to King's Landing, and neither of them are planning on returning.
Business.
Yeah, 2 ass-kicking killers riding side by side to King's Landing to kill 2 people who are currently side by side in King's Landing. One pair coming for another pair. Fucking epic. Great directorial decision, again, to have them riding south together here. Yeah, at least they each get their own horses this time, too.
There's a bug in my face.
Nice. And so suicide missions all around as neither of them are planning on coming back. And they have this great line here between the 2 of them. Gonna leave me to die again if I get hurt?
Probably.
And he can't help but laugh. And it's like they're just fucking with each other, you know? Like they're just busting chops. And Arya smiles at him as a result of that. And he's laughing. And I'm just so happy to see them together on the road again. It's great, right?
On the road again.
On the road again, yeah. And Gilly is preggers, as we talked about.
Yeah. That they want to name their baby Jon.
Yep. And I think that's it for the episode. Is there anything? Oh no, we have Qyburn and Cersei in King's Landing talking.
Yeah, we have a couple more little scenes here.
Yeah, my bad.
That's okay.
So Cersei is asking. She's like, our message was well received then, learning that the, Euron's there, that the Targaryen fleet has been basically massacred.
And that the dragon was killed.
Yeah.
Yep, I saw it go underwater.
Qyburn says, your people have heard the usurper is coming. They're grateful for your protection within the walls of the keep. And I was like, oh shit, now Dany is being called a usurper. The tides have turned. And Cersei has totally fooled the people into thinking that she's protecting them, as opposed to the truth, which is she's really just using them as human shields.
Basically.
Pawns to force Dany's hand to kill civilians and make them turn against her, you know? And she's like,
too bad there won't be any left if that's really what she does.
What was that?
There won't be any civilians left if Dany truly decides to use her dragon. So it's
Queen
kind of a moot
ashes.
point.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, "You're certain about the dragon?" And Euron confirms, "Yep, saw it sink beneath the waves." And she's like, "That must have been glorious." And he like kneels in front of her. "The glory is yours, my queen." And this is a creepy little moment. When the war is won, the lion shall rule the land and the kraken shall rule the sea, which is like a perfect relationship when you think about it. And our child shall one day rule them all. And Euron's eyes light up as he looks over for Qyburn for confirmation, and he nods at him. And he stands up and is like reacting to this news and like grasping Cersei, and you can see micro expressions of disgust on Cersei's face as Euron reacts to this. And I think this tells us that it's not his kid.
Yeah, totally. It's Jaime's.
Yeah. And Euron says she's coming for you, and Dany's coming for you. And she says to keep the gates open. And if Dany wants to take the castle, she'll have to murder thousands of innocent people first. And this is, she's going to try to lure Dany into massacring these people to get to her, just to turn the people against her, basically. And then a poignant line, she says, "So much for the breaker of chains," and we get the reveal.
It's Missandei.
Yes, just as Dany broke Missandei's chains back in the day. I mean, she wasn't like literally in chains, but she was still a slave to Krasny's. Just not wearing chains literally. But now she's like in chains, like she's back in servitude, essentially a prisoner. And it's like she couldn't keep the chains broken, basically. So much for the breaker of chains, so fucked up. And this is then we get the next scene with the War Council, where Tyrion and Varys are trying to keep Dany under control and prevent her from going and slaughtering everybody, basically, after her dragon is killed, right?
Yep, and this is when Varys calls her out. He goes, "Your Grace, I promise you, I would look you in the eye and speak directly if I ever thought you were making a mistake. This is a mistake."
Yeah, and what is the mistake? The mistake is what Grey Worm is suggesting here, because Grey Worm is, one of her loyal advisors as well, and he's saying, "We'll storm the Queen, we'll storm the city, we'll kill all of your enemies, all of them," and Varys is like, no, wait, we can't do this. Like, we don't want to storm the city. There's too many innocent people,
Yeah, for sure.
And I was really proud of Varys for living up to his word here and confronting her to her face. But Dany's like, "You saw my child fall from the sky. They took Missandei." And at that moment, it's like, oh God, we're not going to be able to reason with her. But Varys has a very eloquent point here. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, he goes, Cersei, she needs to be destroyed, but if we attack King's Landing with Drogon and the Unsullied, everyone's going to fucking die. And that's why Cersei is bringing them here into the Red Keep, because you're not going to go after them. So I beg you, basically, like, please do not destroy the city you came to save. Like, we have to find a better way around this.
Don't become what you've always struggled to defeat.
I loved that one so much.
So intense. And she's like, "Do you believe we're here for a reason, Lord Varys? I'm here to free the world from tyrants. That is my destiny, and I will serve it, no matter the cost." And I'm thinking, like, you'll serve it even if it means you become a tyrant yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I felt that way too. It's like she's really in between a rock and a hard place, though.
Right.
It's like she may have to shed some blood, unfortunately, to get into that seat so she can save everybody else. But if she does that, then the people will just think it's more of the same.
In reality, though, if she had any fucking brains whatsoever and Varys is with her, does that offer any solutions that you can think of? Varys knows all of the fucking secret passages of Maegor's Keep. All she needs is Varys to lead an assassin through a hidden gate. Like the sewer that Arya came out of. Just go in through there, infiltrate the Red Keep in secret, pop out through the secret fucking door. Maybe, but like Varys could prevent all of this. He knows all of the secret passages. He could eliminate this problem by sneaking into the Red Keep and killing the target.
Maybe he thinks it just can't be done.
Maybe. I think it's just they didn't consider it.
Maybe. I mean, you could be right.
That's just my initial thought is.
You could be right. I also think Varys is probably just like, she's so heavily guarded and she has the mountain, like to get an assassin through all of it.
Right. And also after Tyrion snuck through those secret passages, now they're aware of them. So maybe
they're probably being guarded.
Yeah. Like there's more details about that in the books. Like Jaime goes into like explore the passages to try to find Tyrion and stuff. And after it happens, Cersei becomes like ultra paranoid that Tyrion is just hiding in the castle, lurking behind the walls, just waiting to strike. And she burns down the Tower of the Hand to like, oh man, it's crazy. But
oh yeah, I think I
probably remember that from Still Smug.
Yes, that's what it was. I was like, I know I haven't read it in the book, but I knew I had heard it somewhere.
Yeah. So someone's like, it could be a fortnight before Jon and the allied armies arrive. In the meantime, demand her surrender. Offer her life in exchange for the throne. It was Tyrion. Dany's like, nope.
But if there's a chance to avoid the coming slaughter, we should make an effort.
Right.
She's like, it's not going to prevent anything, but
perhaps.
She's basically using Cersei as kind of a scapegoat. It's like, hey, the Dragon Queen offered Cersei a surrender and Cersei didn't take it, so it makes Cersei kind of the bad guy.
Right. If the people see that Daenerys made every effort to avoid bloodshed and Cersei refused, then they'll know who to blame when the sky falls down upon them. I thought that was an intense line. Great verbiage there. Ooh,
I totally agree.
Really powerful line. And then it cuts back to Winterfell as a raven arrives and Jaime sees Wolkan handing it to Sansa and he can just tell something's up because he goes to follow Sansa and Brienne and he's like, what happened? And we learn that Euron ambushed Dany's fleet. One of the dragons was killed, several ships destroyed, and Missandei captured. And oh my God, this is like devastating news. And
totally.
Sansa's like, I always wanted to be there when they execute your sister. Seems like I won't get the chance. And I was thinking that this meant that they may not be able to get to Cersei at all. But I feel like Jaime interpreted it as they're going to attack and like just burn the whole fucking place to the ground. Because he can't, he's conflicted. He's lying there. Bran's asleep and he's sitting there at the end of the bed and he can't sleep and he ends up going to leave, right? And I feel like at first when I was watching it, I thought that maybe he thought he would be the only way that they could get to Cersei and that he was going to have to intervene to help on Dany's behalf. But then as Brienne sees that he's gone and finds him leaving, they have this conversation that kind of changed my mind about that. And made me think that he was like regressing and like feeling the need to go save Cersei.
Maybe he feels that way right now, but he'll end up killing her.
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping so too. Because we don't really get the Azor Ahai theory or like prophecy to play out in this series.
Maybe we'll get the Valonqar.
That maybe we'll get like one of them at least.
Maybe. So, Jaime's saddling up the horse, trying to with his one hand. And Bran comes out. They're going to destroy that city. You know they will. Jaime's like, have you ever run from a fight? And Bran's
she's
trying
pleading, basically. She's like, you're not like your sister. Yeah, you're not. You're better than she is. You're a good man, and you can't save her.
You don't need to die with her. And that tells me that she thinks Jaime is regressing and going to try to save her, which is horrible. Oh, man, it was so disappointing.
Talk about begging.
Dude,
stay here.
Stay
with me, please.
She starts to break down. When that last please, please. Stay.
It's awful.
Oh, my God.
She has these big tears in her eyes. It's horrible.
Especially and he has his monologue here. You think I'm a good man? I pushed a boy out a tower window, crippled him for life. For Cersei, I strangled my cousin with my own hands just to get back to Cersei. I would have murdered every man, woman, and child in River Run for Cersei. And everything that he says, Brienne is like breaking down more and more, realizing that he's not necessarily who she thought he is, or at least he's choosing not to be. And he says, to finish it off, she's hateful. And so am I. And just rides off, basically. And this obviously evoked that moment right before he rapes her over Joffrey's dead body, where it's not really a rape in the book, but it's a rape in the show. And he says, "You're a hateful woman. Why have the gods made me love a hateful woman?" Right? So fucked up. And here he's bringing it up again. She's hateful, but so am I. And so am I, he says. And as he rides off here and abandons Brienne, ghosts her, Brienne is fucking crying here. It's heartbreaking. And
it's horrible.
After everything that Brienne's been through, keeping her guard up around men and finally having Jaime break through her tough exterior wall that she's built, and like letting down her guard physically and metaphorically, and, you know, letting her penetrate her defenses physically and metaphorically as well. All of the psychological progress that she's made here, getting over the trauma of not being able to trust men, may have just been erased. And
completely erased. You kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, made even worse. And it's just such a tragedy that happened, and that this is Jaime's decision here after he was finally on the right path, finally fighting for life and in the North with the good people and everything like that. And here he is just regressing and abandoning the woman who really loves him. Cersei doesn't love him. She loves herself. She sees Jaime as what she should have been, you know, and she loves that idea that she could have been that. You know, she doesn't love Jaime. She thinks that he squanders his opportunities. He's a beautiful fool who makes stupid decisions and has wasted his potential in a way that she would not have. And she doesn't love Jaime like Brienne does. Brienne loves Jaime, and Jaime loves Brienne too. But again, he had spent so much time with Cersei, and they were born together. And like he said, we entered this world together. We'll leave this world together as well.
Maybe he'll sacrifice himself and take her down with him.
Maybe.
Sacrifice himself. Yeah.
Yeah, to make sure she dies, but they both die together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what he said would happen, that they will leave the world together, but it's just so fucked up, as like those beautiful smiles that Brienne had earlier in the episode are just completely reversed. And it's like, you know, like that theater thing where like the happy face and the sad face, like next to each other, the juxtaposition. That's Brienne in this episode, covering the full spectrum of emotions, from being elated and happy and finally like finding somebody that she believes in and trusts and it opens up to, and then just having it all just ripped right out from her, and being abandoned and left alone again. Alone. It's just fucking horrible, man. It's like Jon leaving Ghost unforgivable. This may be another unforgivable thing by Jaime here, you know?
Yeah.
It's really fucked up, hard to watch. And I think that's pretty much it for the episode. Do you have anything else?
Nope, I think that's all my notes.
All right, so how do you feel about where we are in the season right now? There's 2 episodes left. We've got 1 dragon left, depleted forces.
I can't believe we are down to 1 dragon.
I know.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be any dragons left at the end of the series? I posed this question on the live show for the other hosts too, but I want to know your opinion, because the dragons are like a dangerous force of nature. Part of me feels like if there are any dragons alive, that nobody is safe. You know what I mean? So in order for peace to exist in the realm, I almost feel like all the dragons have to die for that to be possible.
I think
like
if they
Danny
do,
said,
though...
Like, sorry, ahead. like Danny said, like the people of the 7 kingdoms will live without fear, you know, and peace under their rightful queen. The only way that they can live without fear is if they're not scared that a dragon could show up at any moment. You know what I mean?
I think if they...
Maybe.
I think they'll have to... Drogon's going to have to serve his purpose of getting Dany on the Iron Throne and maybe die in the process, but nonetheless, she would sit the Iron Throne. Or if Danny dies, the dragon dies, or if the dragon dies, Danny dies.
Yeah,
like,
that's what a couple people said last night too.
I'm
They
not
felt
sure
like
there
it was
can really be one without the other.
exactly. Yeah, that's so funny. I think that's what Johnny said. Maybe it's like,
Oh, really?
both of them live or both of them die. Like,
Yeah, and if Drogon does die and Danny survives, it's for her to sit on the Iron Throne.
Right.
Like, the objective is fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm convinced that that's going to happen. So I
Right.
think it's either they both live or they both die. And in a weird Game of Thrones twist that she actually does end up on the Iron Throne, then I think Drogon will die in the process of that. But she will fulfill her objective and still be alive.
Yeah, it's possible. So last week with Princess Sarah, we talked about how last week was the second worst rated episode of Game of Thrones of all time. Did you know that?
No.
Next to one episode from season 5, The Long Night was the worst rated episode of all time for Game of Thrones. And after such an episode, the fandom is greatly divided. There are people who are very disappointed about the narrative decisions that the show has made, the complete cutting out and ignoring of the prince that was promised prophecy, which I thought made sense because
I'm not too upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, George has said, like, prophecies, you know, people, like, in his stories, he likes to use prophecies. And one of the things he likes is that they may just not be true. People are spending all this time doing all this stuff for this prophecy that they're convinced exists, but it's just bullshit. And
Well, I think Melisandre is kind of the embodiment of that in the show because she keeps thinking this prophecy is popping up and none of it comes to fruition.
Right,
and now
exactly.
she's dead. So it's like, I would have loved to see the prince who was promised who wouldn't, but I'm not upset that a prophecy didn't pan out. That's what it is. It's not fact. It's not guaranteed.
I mean,
that we're
Azor
gonna
Ahai
get it.
already existed. Why would there be a second Azor Ahai? Like, that already happened. The assumption that an equivalent figure will rise there's no reason for it. You know what I mean? Like,
And maybe it'll come up in a different way that is resembles it. But I have mixed feelings about. I kind of see both sides. It's kind of where I sit in life in general. Is I just kind of sit in the middle of a lot of things.
Right.
I have an opinion, but I'm not opinionated, I guess is a great way to describe me as an individual.
Sure.
So I see the side where people are furious at the way that this season has panned out. I'm a little disappointed here and there with certain things, like little holes that they could really fill or take the time. I really think this season should have been 10 episodes or more than 6 to make it feel a little bit more robust. But I'm a fan. I'm enjoying the episodes.
Me too.
I like this season. So could there be better things done better? Sure, absolutely. I could say that about a lot of the seasons. It's a little bit more apparent in this season, and I think the showrunners are getting a little bit more flack from it because it's the last season.
Right.
And it took so bloody long for them to get it out to us that it caused, I think, a lot of people to hype it up in their minds versus just take it for face value and just enjoy the show.
Agreed.
So that's how I personally feel. Yeah, there are holes. Yeah, there are things that could have been done better. I was a little disappointed with how dark the last episode was.
I don't know if you heard about that. That was actually not the way the episode actually looked. That was
I did hear that.
Error. Yeah, an error caused by the compression used by HBO to
but
stream it.
nonetheless, we don't have Blu-ray out yet.
Right, yeah,
And
so it did ruin it for a lot of
the show is airing
people.
now. So, and I mean, me personally, I was in a hotel room
Couldn't
in
see
the pitch
shit.
black on my laptop streaming hotel Wi-Fi, and I could not see anything that was happening.
Right.
And it was really frustrating because I thought maybe it was my laptop, and I turned the brightness up all the way. I closed all the blinds and I still couldn't see anything.
Bummer.
And I blamed it kind of on my laptop. And then I went home and I watched it on the TV, and I was like, we have a plasma.
Ooh, plasma's the best.
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of plasma. We have too much in common, Rachel. You're fucking spying on me.
I think you're spying on me.
I got my plasma in 2012.
The thing with the plasma is those you can see true black.
Yeah,
so
they're known for good reds and good blacks.
Super dark on the plasma because there were true blacks in this episode or this past episode. So I was a little let down. But yeah, so I'm not like, I don't hate the show anymore because I couldn't see what the fuck was going on half the time.
There were people who said this is no longer their favorite show stupid. After last episode.
That's just stupid. People just need to learn to be happy.
Right. It's like
I thoroughly enjoyed the episode, even though I had a hard time seeing it. And I respect that that the showrunners wanted it to be dark. And I understand that HBO kind of fucked it up when they compressed it. So it doesn't make me hate the show. I love the show.
People were also upset with narrative decisions, though, that played a big part of it as well. They thought the military tactics were bad, which I can make arguments against their arguments for that. But yeah, I mean,
I see both sides. I think it's moving faster than we want it to. But it's not because I think they're pressed for time. But also, do we really want to spend a whole lot of time revisiting things that we already know in the series? Now, I will say there are certain moments, like I would have loved to hear Bran repeat Jon's heritage to Sansa and Arya,
see their reactions,
to get their reaction. I think that was a misstep, but they're running out of time, and I would rather them spend the time on something that we haven't seen or heard before than waste it with 6 episodes. But that's why I said I think they should have had
10,
maybe at least 8.
1,000.
Yeah, I mean at least
episodes.
8. That's how I felt.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is that this is the most highly anticipated season of television of all time. The most popular TV show ever in its final season with such high expectations. It's just like, how can you possibly keep everybody happy? You know, like you're doing your best to try to pull together an ending that people will like.
There's always going to be people out there that are going to complain about it.
Right. And Princess Sarah posted an amazing meme where it's like, fans if Jon Snow killed the Night King. Too predictable. Fans when Arya killed the Night King. Jon Snow should have done it. You know?
Exactly.
Like you're just not going to be happy. But like it's happened with other series before, like Lost. A lot of people hated the ending. The fandom was divided. The Sopranos, people hated the ending. The fandom was divided. How many really legendary popular series are able to successfully land an ending? Not many of them. Like what? Breaking Bad? Dexter. People hated the ending. I mean, Breaking Bad is like the only one I can think of.
People hate the ending because it's just the fact that it's the ending and the show is ending, and people
and
don't want to let go
can satisfy
of
them.
this. Yeah, they don't want to let go of this world, and
no, nothing could happen that could be satisfying enough potentially.
No. So I have my mixed feelings about this season. I think I am kind of waiting for it to play out in its entirety. I'm going to go back and watch the season from start to finish before I jump to conclusion about how I feel. I feel that me personally, I kind of played up the first episode in my mind. I was a little let down. But I think that was partially just me personally, like imagining what Game of Thrones season 8 premiere is going to be.
Right. Yeah. Same here.
But it didn't.
A little underwhelmed after the first episode.
It was underwhelming, but it was a wonderful episode.
Yeah.
So I want to watch it in a different context than just anticipation and excitement. So maybe ask me again after I've rewatched the series after it's aired, and I can give you a little bit more valid opinion.
I think we're going to have to discuss our feelings again about just where we are in the series at the end of next episode too.
I do too. I think so.
All right, so stick with us, guys. We'll be right back after a short break.
All right.
Make sure to check out the new Game of Thrones rap album, The Iron Throne of Microphones, by Purpose from the rap group Tragic Allies. Just go to tragicallies.bandcamp.com to get the album for free today. This track is called Sword in the Darkness.
Night gathers, and now my watch begins.
It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die in my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realms of men. I pledge my life and honor to the Night's Watch for this night and all the nights to come.
This hatred in the hearts of men. I came to wash my sins. Take the black, no looking back as my watch begins. No more scheming in the evening for a gold crown, or spending all my coppers on a horse who live in Mole's town. Hear my words and witness my vow as I kneel before the old gods, listening now. Night gathers and my watch begins. Shall it not end until I die? When I try fighting for kin, my brothers in black shall take no wives, hold no lands, and father no kids. For as long as we live and wear no crowns and win no glory, live and die at my post like the story of those who came before me. I am the sword in the darkness, watcher on the wall, shield guarding the realms of men till all of us fall. Pledge my life and my honor for the Night's Watch for this night and all the nights to come till my life is undone. The fight has begun.
Killers, thieves, he came alone, in chains, without friends or honor. He came to us rich, he came to us poor. Some of you bear the names of proud houses. Others only bastard names and no names at all. It does not matter. All that is in the past. Here, on the wall, we are all one house.
And we're back with Raven's Calls. Lady Amelia of House Gibson. Hi, Sir Duncan and Lady Rachel. It's Lady Amelia of House Gibson in Cumbria, North England. I don't think Ghost will leave John. I think his instinct to be with John will see him follow John down to King's Landing, meeting up with Nymeria and her gang on the way. I think Ghost still has to play an important role in protecting John at a vital moment. I hope I'm right. Keep up the great work. I hope you're right too, Lady Amelia.
I hope you're right too, because that really has not been sitting right with my soul.
Yeah. What's the David Nutter released a statement about it, that partially they chose to do that because he implied it's dangerous to have the actors working with wolves. But like, dude, we're not stupid. You could have one of the trainers go head to head with the wolf or something.
That's total cop out.
Yeah, total cop out. Like if Tatiana Maslany can hug herself in Orphan Black, anything is possible. You know?
They had Brienne of Tarth in a bear pit with an actual bear.
Right.
Like, that was a real bear. She was in the pit with the bear.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's bullshit.
There you go. Destroyed.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
Argument destroyed.
I think I said it earlier. I would seriously rather 5 minutes less of some dragon content for 30 seconds for him to say goodbye to Ghost.
I know.
That's all I needed. Is not even 30 seconds. Just go pat him on the head or give him like a hug or something.
Yeah, like they didn't have to have Drogon sitting within ballista range at that last meeting there. You know, like could have left him out entirely and given 15 seconds to Ghost.
Or how about that stupid joyride that they took like in the first episode? They could have cut like a couple solid minutes out of that and I would have been okay.
Yeah,
you could say he could have said goodbye to Ghost.
Yeah, there could be extra there that could be cut for sure.
Yeah, so I hope we see Ghost again.
Me too.
Sadly don't think we're going to, but I'm gonna hope alongside you, Lady Amelia.
Me too. We're both with you. I'll be the devil on your shoulder. She could be the angel.
Okay. Lady Stancha of House Hall. Very well-placed episode. So many things to say, but at this point, I can only quote Ramsay. If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Thanks for writing, Lady Stancha. Good to hear from you.
Yes.
Sir Mihai of Math and Science, guardian of the tensors and friend of the lambdas. 7 blessings, here's me again with the new episode. First, we have 5 final goodbyes to the dead. Dany whispers something to Jorah, and as the episode goes on, we realize she has lost the one person she knew the most. From the beginning, that one person who was backing her up no matter what. Except for when he was trying to have her assassinated. But that was that before, technically. Then we have Sansa's goodbye to Theon, finally marking him as a full Stark by giving him the wolf pin as a posthumous decoration. Probably she actually felt some romantic interest in him. If we recall where they were during the Jenny song a few episodes ago, seems like ages have passed since then, although it's just 2 weeks. Arya's goodbye to Beric and Sam. Arya's goodbye to Beric and Sam. Oh, shit, sorry. Fuck. Arya's goodbye and Beric's to Sam. Oh my God, what am I? It must be like these fucking.
Here, put a comma there.
Arya's goodbye to Beric. Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
Sam's
okay.
to Ed.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Arya's goodbye to Beric and Sam's to Ed are mostly pairing people who survived getting a final goodbye to the people that saved them. And then we have Jon and Lyanna. Both because Jon recognizes her bravery, more on that later, but also because she's a stand-in for the other Lyanna that Jon never knew, for his mother. It was very fitting that all these were happening while, quote, The North Remembers was playing. Nice.
Yes.
The sound is slowed down, making it more somber, more sorrowful, as it should. And Jon completes the arc by declaring that all men who died were, quote, shields that guarded the realms of men, repeating the relevant part of the Oath of the Night's Watch. The second chapter of the episode is the after party. Arya is missing. She says later that she doesn't like groups of people when she finally goes away with the Hound. Clegane Bowl is going to happen, and Arya will die, killing Cersei. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Gendry is looking for Arya during the party, and his moving around earns him the title of Lord. Dany tells Tyrion that he's not the only one who's clever, and then he immediately looks at Sansa. The icy relationship between Sansa and Dany gets even colder by the end of this episode, and the relationship between Sansa and Tyrion will actually make this blow up, as Sansa told Tyrion Jon's secret. And now that's no longer a secret, but information. Sansa is a true yeah, right. Sansa is a true student of Littlefinger. She knows how to play the big game now, how to climb the ladder. As Clegane tells her, this little bird has changed. Coming back to the party, Jaime, Tyrion, Pod, and Bran are playing the drinking game, which results in the end in a drunken Brienne and a drunken Jaime doing the thing. This breaks Tormund's heart, and he leaves north of the wall. Damn, taking a very battered ghost with him, too. And later, we also get Brienne's heart broken as Jaime is still addicted to Cersei, and there are more things he needs to do for love. That sucks.
Yeah.
Dany gets very isolated during the party and storms off to the worried looks of Varys. We see seeds of conflict between her and Jon being sown now, although Jon tries not to get on the throne. But later, we get that, quote, the best ruler might be someone who doesn't want to rule, unquote. A reversal of, quote, any man who says I'm the king is no king, unquote. Good call. That's a great mirror.
Yep.
Excellent.
Wow.
Is it possible that Varys will end up killing Dany? I think it's entirely possible, which terrifies me.
Or have someone do it for him.
Yeah, totally. Arya rejects Gendry. She's not going to be a lady. She's going to kill Cersei and not come back. We hear that Dorne has a new prince who already has declared for Dany. This is another reversal, as in the past Dorne was the last of the Seven Kingdoms to join the realm. Oh, that's a good historical parallel too. Nice catch. Unfortunately, Dany seems to go on a bad path. She claims it's her, quote, she claims it's her destiny to free the world of tyrants, but the fact that she wants to do this no matter the costs and how she reacts are signs that she might become a new tyrant. The wheel might not be broken after all. Quote, all tyrants talk about destiny, unquote, and getting 3 dragons shouldn't give Dany an exemption. In fact, now she only has 1 dragon left, and we see how she is now closer to the Mad King, becoming more tyrannical as she lost each one of her dragons. Missandei's Dracarys will now ring in Dany's mind until she burns everyone in King's Landing, like the Mad King wanted to. Oh, that would be so fucked up if Dany ended up fulfilling the Mad King's intentions just because, like, she wants to get to Cersei.
She just snaps finally.
Yeah. 3 more tie-ins and I'm done. First, Sam is a father. Long-winded explanation cut short by Gilly in a funny way. John hoping that the child is a girl brings back sad memories about Craster's Keep. Oh, man.
Oh, shit.
Damn. And the things that happened there. Then we have Bronn asking for double the price, as people called it in the past. 2 river runs make for a high garden in this arithmetic. You know the math pretty well, bro. But now he has to help in getting rid of Cersei. And finally, there were leaves rustling when Jon was sharing his secret in the Godswood. All of the Stark ancestors were listening to this. Damn.
Wow.
That's cool, too. One more thing to add. I was thinking about Ghost and Jon not petting him and was really upset. And then it dawned on me, and research, watching past episodes on Fast Forward, agrees. Ever since Jon was brought back to life, he was cold towards Ghost. What if he lost empathy when he was brought back? Gurm said that everyone brought back loses something, and we don't seem to find anything else that Jon lost. Thanks for more episodes, Serb Mihai of Math and Science, Guardian of the Tensors, and Friend of the Lambdas. Always good to hear from you, brother. Thanks for writing, man.
Nice
Great
feedback
email.
for sure.
Yeah, lots of good catches in there.
Lord Levi Clifford of House Smith. Great Great episode, in my opinion. Next week, all hell will break loose. Burn them all. One less dragon. Sad face.
Yep. Lady Amanda of House Massey. Great episode this week, packed with a lot of information, and in true Game of Thrones fashion, no one is safe. Man, I was not ready for them to take out the dragon or capture and kill Missandei. One thing I wish they were doing is using Bran more tactically. Ooh, yeah, that's a great point. They could do so much with him. They could be tapping into what Cersei's battle plan is and the layout outside and inside of King's Landing with Bran's ability to warg and to see everything past and present. Yeah, they could destroy Cersei. They could literally just wheel him through the Red Keep and he's like, take a left, no one's down this hallway, until they get to Cersei and kill her. Any thoughts on why they wouldn't be utilizing him, especially now that the threat of the Night King is gone? Really hoping Arya uses Littlefinger's face in some sort of plot to kill Cersei. I think that they aren't using Bran into his full capacity just because it would make everything too easy. They just can't do it.
We're also not sure that he can see the future.
Right. But if he can listen into strategy conversations and stuff like that.
That's true. He can listen to the past, and maybe that will come into play. We'll see.
I hope so. That'd be cool as hell, man.
Lady Casey of House Andrews. Jon couldn't even be bothered to hug Ghost goodbye.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So fucked.
Ugh. Lady Claire of House Johnson. I absolutely hate what they're doing with Dany. She lost so much to save Westeros, and she's just getting shit on and being pushed into being, quote, mad. Also, fuck Sansa. She is Littlefinger 2.0 and so ungrateful. She never really tried with Dany. She was confrontational and demanding. Look how well Yara did by showing a little mutual respect. Ugh, I'm so sad. I hate it. Sorry you're sad about this stuff, Lady Claire.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll all resolve itself. I bet they're doing this just because they needed some sort of tension between the heroes during the final season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Little extra dynamic.
Definitely.
Lord Howard of House Bennett. We knew from season 7 Dany would not do well in the north. It was always going to break her. Only bit I didn't like was Ghost and the Jon part. At least Ghost will be safe.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to get inside the dragon pit, so Cersei will have to be killed by Arya somehow. Shit has just got real after that episode.
Ooh, yeah,
for
shit
sure.
is real for sure. Lady Amanda of House Slightham. Great episode. Dany is super pissed and I feel is going to bring fire and blood to Cersei. I agree.
Yep. Lady Joanne Marie of House Abernathy. I had a lot of what the fuck moments.
For sure. Definitely. Me too. Lady Heather of House Hildebrand. I'm 100% sure Jaime is going to kill Cersei. Arya is probably going to tag team the Mountain of Gregor. Oh, that would be so cool, man. Maybe that's true. Like, you're going to leave me to die again if I get hurt? Look, at the last second, the Hound is like on the ground and the Mountain's about to kill him and Arya comes out to defend him and they tag team him.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
That'd be so cool. He's like kneeling and she's like jumping off his back and stuff.
Oh, damn.
That'd be epic. A lot of people think Tyrion will tell Dany about Varys and she'll kill him. I say maybe, but not before Varys sets events in motion to take out Dany. Oh, Varys is prepared to die to protect the small folk. I think either Jon will have the throne thrust upon him because both Cersei and Dany are dead, or he'll decline and it'll go to the newly legitimized Gendry, and Jon will be the king of the North. I almost... After just jokingly, after saying that Jon lost my vote for king, I was about to say like Gendry for king.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Not that we know enough about his character to know if he's worthy at all or intelligent enough to comprehend it, but it was just as a joke. But if it does come true, that'd be hilarious.
When I did the analogy of the wheel, I noted that the Baratheon sigil has always stayed there.
That's right.
Even when
Never
all
left.
the Baratheons were killed off.
And here's the payoff for you. You
and
called
here
it.
it is. Yeah, so we'll see.
Either way, I suspect we'll see a history repeat itself when the Kingslayer becomes a Queenslayer and is found perched on the throne waiting for Jon to arrive. Oh, just like he waited on the throne for Robert after killing the Mad King. Damn, that would be nuts.
So crazy.
Yeah, that would be so intense. Thanks, Lady Heather. Great message. Love it.
Lady Fella of House Magnuche, and if I pronounced your name wrong, I'm sorry. Please let us know how to properly pronounce it. I didn't like the episode 4. It was short and nothing happened. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear that too. Wish it could make everybody happy, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Lord Jamo of House Maxwell. Another brilliant episode, in my opinion. The amount of heartbreaking was insane. Tormund, Gendry, Brienne, Daenerys, Grey Worm, Jon, Ghost, Jaime. At least Sansa and Sandor had a moment of happiness. Yeah, that's true. And they never get moments of happiness either. So
no, hardly ever.
I've given up trying to form any hypothesis now because the writers continue to twist the tale in weird and wonderful ways. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the ride for the last 2 episodes. I'm right there with you. I'm done trying to make any serious guesses at this point.
I know. It's so hard at this point.
Yeah.
Lady Samantha of House Mikelay. Awesome. I was craving some Starbucks for some reason, though.
I
She's referencing that Starbucks cup in front of Dany, or coffee, or takeaway coffee cup.
I wonder if that was Emilia Clarke's cup and she left it on the table. It's brutal.
There's one of Jaime. Yeah, there's one of Jaime during, I think it's Joffrey's wedding. He's holding a to-go coffee cup in his hand.
Nice. That's funny,
Back
man.
from season 3 or 4.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the one shot where she had the perfect expression and it wasn't while they were filming. Oh, no, it was while they were... Yeah, never mind.
They could have edited it out, though.
Right,
Edited
totally.
it out.
Edited it out.
I can never say that.
Edited it out.
Edited it out.
Sounds so weird. Lord Rhine of House Cortez. Love that name. Worst episode of the season. Oh, Sir Patrick of Hindsight replies, I'll raise you. Worst ever.
What? That's crazy.
Damn. Sorry, guys.
Lord Julio of House Antonio. It was a twist I didn't see that coming, and there was a lot of heartbreak.
Yes, indeed. Sir Mohammed of House Afif. Shittiest episode ever. Bronn bringing crossbow to Winterfell and then leaves awkwardly. Dany can't see what's below her and then costs her a dragon. Dany's reason to not recover from the White Walker War is, quote, my enemy gets stronger every day. The fuck? When negotiating at King's Landing, if Cersei's army really wants to win the war, they just have to wipe out that cute little army with the dragon perched at the back, considering Jon's army is still on the way. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying too.
Said. Yep, that's
all they had to do is just light them up. Boom.
Yes.
I feel you, brother. Thanks for writing in, man. Sorry you're disappointed. Hopefully they can, bring it back for you.
Yeah. Thank you for writing in.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Bryson of House Wolf. Gendry totally Ted Mossbeed Arya. I'm not sure who Ted Mossbeed is.
If you're down with How I Met Your Mother, it must be somebody from that.
Okay. I have not watched that show.
Neither have I. I've heard it's good, though.
Yeah. I want to know what that is now. I'm going to look up Ted Mossbeed. Grey Worm no longer has any weakness. Weren't the wildlings and others supposed to stick around and fight Cersei? Why'd they all leave? Or was that just not part of the deal? If I recall, their deal with Jon was to fight.
Yeah, fight for life.
To fight the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where they're, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that's where it kind of ended for them. Although I would have thought maybe that they would have maybe helped.
Would find it appropriate, but hey.
Yeah, no, Jon asked them to fight when the time comes, when the Night King comes, and they can live peacefully on the land until then.
Mm-hmm. I guess since they've never had his stake in the Seven Kingdoms, they're like, we don't care about that.
It's
we don't care about
irrelevant
the Iron Throne.
Or was that just not part of the deal? But I thought last season that was the deal. Jon and Co will help Dany after Dany and Co help Jon defeat the dead.
I guess Jon didn't have the authority to extend
I think Jon
their
and
pact.
Co. Yeah, I think Jon and Co may reference the Northern Army and maybe even the Vale for the most part, but I don't think he really has much say over what the wildlings do.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Good points, though. Thank you for writing in.
Yeah, always good to hear from you, Lord Bryson. Lady Angie of House Ruiz. I am 50-50 on this episode. I don't want Dany to massacre innocents. This is something she's been fighting against since the show started. I hope they infiltrate word into King's Landing or something so that people leave. I didn't like the way they set up Dany since episode 1. She's been getting more and more isolated as the episodes progress, and on top of it, they're chipping away at her sanity by taking her most trusted companions. First Jorah, then another child, and finally Missandei. What child is she talking about?
The dragon.
Oh, the dragon. Yeah, sorry. Derp. If Dany truly goes mad, then what was the point of her incredible journey? A fallen hero? Are we just supposed to accept her Targaryen-ness taking over after all? Frown face. I accept that characters need to die, but the amount of losses she's had to endure in such a short time would drive anyone mad with rage. Also, HBO doesn't fool me. They got rid of 2 animals to save budgeting, probably. Too much CGI costing. Yup, another frowning face. I hated Jon leaving Ghost just like that. Just like that. So heartless. Looking forward to Arya and the Hound tag team. Oh, yes. Yeah. Can't wait for more Arya and the Hound. Love those guys.
Sir Matthew of House Repp. Sandor was feeling so lost after the battle and losing Beric. First, he tried to find purpose with Brother Ray and again with Beric and the Brotherhood.
Oh, that's true. He lost both of the organizations that he was with in their entirety. That's so sad.
Yeah. He knows what his true purpose is, and it took Sansa to remind him of it when she told him she'd killed her greatest enemy with hounds.
Damn.
Oh, shit. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, good call, brother.
Sandor needs to embrace his inner hound to kill his greatest enemy.
Oh, damn, that's so
Clegane
good.
Bowl.
Yeah, because after in the books, it's even made more clear. Like when Sandor dies after the fight with Brienne, like the elder brother on the Quiet Isle says, the Hound is dead. Sandor Clegane is at rest. So it implies that the persona of the Hound is like a thing of the past at that point, but he's got to bring it back to take out Gregor.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more developed than in the book.
Oh man, well, it's totally different, but yeah, but you'll see, you'll get it, yeah.
Yeah. Jon has always had a bit of an identity crisis when he thought he was Ned's bastard. Now that he knows the truth, does he send Ghost away because he doesn't think he's Stark enough? With Rhaegal dying, can he become the Targaryen his father was? I feel that even though he is born, that he is both, Jon feels as though he is neither.
Yeah. Similar to the Theon situation, huh?
Totally. Yeah,
wow.
Same situation.
Foils of each other, except one makes the right steps and one takes the wrong steps, you know?
And we get that a little bit when Jon and Theon talk at Dragonstone, because I think I noted this a couple podcast episodes ago that when he says to Theon, you're a Greyjoy and you're a Stark, like you don't have to choose, basically. I felt like he was also kind of talking about himself unknowingly because he's a Targaryen and he's a Stark.
Totally.
so he doesn't have to choose.
Good call. Good call. And yeah, don't forget you're one of us. Yeah, man, that's a good one. I like that.
Thank you for writing in, Sir Matthew.
Yeah,
always good
to
feedback.
Lady Amberly of House Nicole. It was gut-wrenching and left no feeling of satisfaction except knowing Ghost will be safe and we don't have to worry for him anymore. That is a good way to look at this. Make the best out of it. I think you found the silver lining, Lady Amberly.
Lady Lakeisha Lecky of House Thompson. Sorry if someone already said this, but shouldn't the Greyjoy, could be the wrong name, guy, be wondering how the hell Tyrion knew that Cersei is pregnant? Hell, he just found out that morning. That should let him know that Cersei was already pregnant. Hopefully the writers don't overlook that tidbit. It's too important to not either acknowledge it or give it an explanation. I totally agree.
Maybe it ends up with this total surprise where Arya's killed trying to kill Cersei, Jaime's killed trying to kill Cersei, and then at the last moment, Euron stabs her and he's like, I would have let you live, but you lied and told me it was my baby.
Oh my God. He's crazy enough. That could totally happen.
Right. And that'll be like what it takes to let Dany in. And he tries to like win her affection, but she roasts him with her dragon.
Oh, man.
Lady Sarah of House Larkham. The funeral was so emotional. Sansa giving Theon the Stark pin was so heartbreaking. The scene between Jaime and Brienne was a nod to the fans who shipped them after the bath scene in season 3. That's us. I love the scene between Sansa and the Hound, and Sansa telling the Hound how Ramsay died by his hounds was priceless. There was a moment when Dany was beside Rhaegal. She was smiling and picturing Jon next to her on Rhaegal. Oh, that's an interesting way to look at that.
Yeah.
Then, all of a sudden, Rhaegal was hit. I was so sad and mad at the same time.
Yeah.
Me too. Qyburn mentioned to Bronn in the brothel that Cersei has a surprise for the Dragon Queen when she heads south in episode 1 of this season. That's true. And we knew exactly what it would be. People were like, well, Drogon destroyed the ballista. And I was like,
No, they're making building tons of those.
Tons of them and bigger. Oh, yeah, definitely. Varys, noticing how people like Jon naturally, more than Dany, brought back the spider in Varys, and that was before he learned that Jon was the last male Targaryen. That's true. Very interesting. Bronn using the crossbow to bargain a better deal for him on 2 highborn Lannisters was genius by Bronn, right? That's what I said, that he was really smart, but that it, like, I didn't like it, it was really uncomfortable. I mean, I like it. I thought it was awesome, but it made me feel uncomfortable watching it, which means it was good. Was also shocked when Missandei was in the chains when she was brought into Cersei.
It was sad. Lady Mary Patricia of House Diorigo. Ugh. Trying to hang on for the tumultuous ride in the next 2 episodes. Experience all the feelings: sadness, hilarity, happiness, anger, suspension of belief, frustration.
Good use of hilarity. That's a good word.
Yeah, I love that word.
Yeah, definitely. Lisa Forrester Carey. Far too many plot holes and inconsistencies. Jaime has been on this redemption arc for years, finds out that Cersei actually sent someone to kill him, and then leaves Brienne to go back to her. Yeah, that's true. That's super fucked up. He's like the most whipped out of anybody ever. I'm hoping this was misdirection and that he's actually going back to try and stop her.
That's how I feel.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
It might be misled. He says that he's hateful, and I think he's going to be hateful towards his sister.
That's what I'm hoping too. We think Brienne is interpreting it as, remember, she says, you don't have to die with her. Like, you can't save her. And maybe Jaime's like in his head, like, I'm not going to save her. I'm going to kill her.
He's going to go kill her.
That'd be awesome. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Arya's going back to Winterfell and really starting to find her humanity again and reconnect with her family. Then she just leaves. It would be fine if she was going to finish her list, but it sounded as if she didn't plan to come back. I think that's just because she thinks she's going to die in the process, like a suicide mission. I'm sure she would want to go back. Like she was saying, they're the last of the Starks, It seems like she really does care about the family. Jon in season 1. The direwolves were sent here. They were meant to be here. Jon in season 8. Meh, just take Ghost up north with you. He'll be happier there. Anyway, I won't even say goodbye to the good old boy who's fought beside me and protected me. What the fuck?
I know. It was awful. It was so bad.
Dude. Sansa learned too much from Cersei and Littlefinger and not enough from her own past experiences. Ooh, that's an interesting way of looking at that.
Yeah.
Her not keeping the secret about them leaving King's Landing helped get her father killed. Damn, Ned kept his secret for 17 years until his death, and Sansa couldn't keep it for 17 minutes. And now she's done it again. She can't keep another secret. God damn it. Ugh. Dany has lost all credibility. Now that she's found out she's not the rightful ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, she doesn't really care who actually has a right to it. She just wants it. Yep, that's what I was saying too. Like, she needs to reconcile. She always called anyone who wasn't the next in line of succession Targaryen a usurper, but she apparently doesn't mind being the usurper herself. I feel sorry for her and for all that she's lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But she's really been a stickler for those rules of succession until she discovered that she actually has no right to the throne. Worst of all, can we talk about Euron, the joking pirate, apparently having guided missiles? That's true. The accuracy was off the charts for those shots.
Yeah.
Like the odds that he would be able to nail this Rhaegal that first shot
3 times
without alerting Dany to the danger and then like just nailing him the first shot. Yeah, and 3 shots in a row. God damn, that's just mathematically nope.
Impossible.
Dany couldn't see all those ships from midair, but he could not only see the dragons through a mountain, but could hit 3 out of 3 shots firing from a moving boat at a dragon in the air. Gurm himself has said that it's almost impossible to take down a flying dragon. It's been done one time in history by the Dornish, and that was a lucky shot that got the dragon in the eye. Yes, indeedy. Now, the Night King and Euron both have taken one down, but at least they had the leeway to say the Night King was successful because magic. Lastly, we're supposed to believe that Cersei lets Dany and co. come and go from King's Landing because...
Right?
I guess we're going to assume that she's following the custom of not killing someone who's there to negotiate or have peace talks. But she didn't care about blowing up the Queen, the Hand of the King, the Lord of the Reach, the Pope of Westeros, and several hundred other people in a church.
Oh my God.
That sounds reasonable. I'm afraid that D&D have totally lost control of this story. Not totally their fault, because they signed on to adapt a story, not write one. But I was hoping for more. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get it. All very valid points, Lady Lisa.
Yes. Nice feedback.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
for
to hear from
writing
you.
in.
Thank you.
Lord Richard of House Horsefield. Hang in there, Jamie Lannister. I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Hang Jamie Lannister. Even if he's going to kill Cersei, he still needs to die for what he did to Brienne.
Dude.
Sansa getting more irritating every scene she is in. Poor Ghost getting beat up, then dumped by Jon. Dany about to become the Mad Queen. Who's all ready for Clegane Bowl?
Yeah.
Me.
Mountain kills Hound.
Mountain kills Hound. Arya kills Mountain. Place your bets.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Always good to hear from you, Lord Richard. That's a good buddy from Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I would try a Scottish accent, but I would totally embarrass myself. So I'm just going to pass on that.
One of our good buddies from Scotland. We got a bunch.
Yes.
Lord Anthony J. of House Alequin. I have truly enjoyed this season. The only struggle I've had is the portrayal of Daenerys. I hope with these last 2 episodes she overcomes all odds and wins the support of these people. She has truly lost a lot, and in no way, shape, or form can I blame her if she decides to repay it all with fire and blood. After conquering King's Landing, she can rebuild it and rule with the justice she has always wanted to. Very interesting take. We will see what happens, my friend.
Yes. Lord Christian Dull of House Pedersen. Great episode. R.I.P. Rhaegal and Missandei. The moment Grey Worm held hands with her and smiled, I just knew something bad was coming. Yeah, me too.
Really
but I thought it was going to be Grey Worm, not
me too.
Missandei. Arya and the Hound on a mission. Is it really going to be Arya saving the day again? It could be.
Yeah.
Coming up next week, 2 Mad Queens facing off.
Oh,
yes,
man. Can't
I love
wait.
that.
Yeah, totally. Lord Christopher of House Cavero. Anyone else notice when Tormund is phrasing Jon at the beginning? He says, "What kind of person climbs onto a dragon? A madman or a king?" And the camera goes from Dany when he says madman to Jon as he says king.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just thought it's clever. Very,
Very
clever.
clever.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned that earlier, huh?
Yes, that was very, very clever camera work there.
Yup.
Lady Kelsey of House Carlson. I loved this episode. I think my sinking feeling about Dany showing her true Targaryen colors is coming to light. She's hungry for power, and no matter the cost.
It's true. That's
Sansa,
true.
Yeah, it very much is. She's isolated, feeling alone. While this is her home, this isn't where she grew up. I think she's feeling very out of place. And talk about stress and sadness. It's the perfect storm for her to go mad.
It's really sad to see this happening after everything she's done.
I know.
And tried to do, and like the person that she's tried to be.
Yeah, it is. Sansa is becoming like Littlefinger, and it is delicious. The Arya and the Hound moment is exactly what we have all been waiting for. In the after show, they made it seem like Jaime is going back to Cersei because he is addicted to her. But I got the vibe that he wanted to kill her. Me too.
Ooh.
I'm excited to see how the end of this all unfolds. Me too.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. And they could be even using the behind the scenes stuff to throw us off, like who knows with these bastards. Johnny Stitches. Apparently they removed the coffee cup. Let's see, he's got a link here. I'm clicking it. Johnny has a link to TMZ. Game of Thrones, another beloved character bites the dust. Dany's coffee cup. Game of Thrones fans had their fun, but now it's over. HBO has digitally removed the disposable coffee cup seen sitting on a table next to Daenerys Targaryen from Sunday's episode. That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, see, it's cool they can still do stuff like that, and fix it.
Lady Tammy of House Bar. I was so caught up in the go get the music and riding high on that victory momentum that when the arrow came flying through the air, I was shocked.
Me too.
Girl, me too.
Me too. I was just like,
it was
I just stopped in my tracks and I froze.
Yeah, me too. I was just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, horrible.
There are no happy endings on this show. I love how this show allows me to get carried away, then experience the defeat and heartbreak like everyone else.
Yep.
I was also getting really mad at the beginning because all of the men were congratulating themselves on a victory. Without Dany, they would all be dead. If I was her, I would feel the same way. Yeah,
Yep.
you can't blame her. That's for sure.
Definitely. Lady Elizabeth of House Spencer. Apologies to Claire Johnson. My money's on Sansa to take it all, I think. She's come the farthest in terms of personal growth the whole series. Either that or everyone dies and they all decide on a representative democracy. I would like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, constitutional republic, especially. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Nice.
Great to hear from you, Lady Elizabeth. Thank you for writing.
Lord Eric W. of House Morrison. I liked the episode, but I'm mad about when they killed Rhaegal and Missandei. They deserve better than that. And Jon was about to tell Sansa and Arya that he's not a Stark, but letting Bran tell them was a great choice.
Yeah, very interesting.
And Dany isn't listening to anyone again. LOL. She's not even listening to Varys, which she should.
Yeah, Varys is definitely a person you should pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sir Patrick wrote, "Bransplaining." Sir Patrick of Hindsight, gazer of the Mirish rear view, says, "Disparate house ladies of Westeros." And a picture of Varys and Tyrion, one game at a time, my friend. Season 7 Maesters. Remember when Lodos prophesied that the drowned god would emerge from the sea to pull Aegon the Conqueror out of the sky? Ebros, Lobos. I knew this would come true in some form. Now Aegon has lost his dragon. So Lobos being Euron here.
Is it Lobos or Lodos?
Sorry, Lodos.
Okay.
So Lodos prophesizing the drowned god would emerge from the sea. So that's basically talking about Euron coming from the sea and taking out Dany's dragon. That's hardcore, man. This episode was almost like watching my headcanon coming to life. At least some of you were likely surprised that Gendria never came to be. Yeah, I mean, it made sense that they hooked up, but it also totally made sense what happened, so I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah.
Jorah, she'll let you down before long. Dario, we'll all be let down before long. The only satisfaction I get from Dany's descent into madness is that I called it in season 6.
That you did.
Yeah. Bran, stop living in the past. Dany really needed some fucking Raven scouts in this episode. Seriously. He could have been guiding her. Yeah, that's so rough. Did she seriously forget about the fleet that destroyed her navy? Right? Like, what the hell? You got to keep your eye out for that thing, man. I knew Qyburn was Mengele. Admitting his familiarity with the screams of dying children confirms it. The first line Qyburn says to any of the little birds is, "How's your eye?" This invokes comparison to the experiments that Mengele would perform on children's eyes in the concentration camps. Sure, the line makes him seem compassionate, but Mengele was known to be compassionate towards the Jewish children. Mengele was fucked, for sure.
Yeah, he was.
I'm pretty sure they featured his character in the show, or his, like a character of him in the show, The Man in the High Castle, which I highly recommend watching. Really good. Just noticed this. In the opening credits, the archway into the Great Hall at Winterfell is broken. The furniture and fixtures inside are trying to pop up, but they can't. Oh, that's so cool. I missed that. On second watching, this episode is actually a lot better written than I initially gave it credit for. It's a really well-handled information dump. Nice. Yeah, I think this is a pretty great episode, in my opinion. Thanks for writing in, everybody. Always great to hear from you guys.
Thank you guys. Lots of good feedback now that we're rolling in through season 8.
Oh, yeah.
So much so we had to record your feedback another night.
Yep.
Which is why I'm in different clothes.
Yeah, same here. All right, that's our show, episode 116. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And it's really good to be back. I'm sorry I had to take a week off during my onboarding with my new job. So it feels good to be back behind the mic.
Yeah, and congratulations with the new job, and glad everything's going well. It's awesome. And we're glad to have you back, of course, as well.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you to John Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers, for announcing our show. If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOMPodcast or patreon.com/GOMPodcast to donate an amount of your choosing. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com. And just so you guys know, this show costs a lot more than we've ever made. So any donations that you guys make a huge difference. And if you like what we've done, providing content for the entire rewatch and through the new season and everything, we'd really appreciate it if you would consider sending us just a single $1 and help keep us around and recoup some of the costs for the production. Thank you very much for considering it. We've also been contacted by an angel investor who's willing to match donations 3 times over. So if that gives you any incentive to donate, then please feel free to do so. Thanks.
Doing some online shopping, go to gameofmicrophones.com and click on our link to Amazon. As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases.
Any contribution you make helps, and you can help secure the continued existence of Game of Microphones. We'd like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lady Teri of House Theodore, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, Lord John of House Grilz, Luke, the Low Duke, Lord Bryson of House Wolf, Jen from Tarot Spirit, Lord Jeremiah of House Carpenter, Lord Corey Eugene of House Coon, the last High Gardener of High Garden, and Lord Robert of House Misievich. Thank you guys so much. We love you and appreciate your patronage.
7 blessings.
And 1 extra one for good measure. And make sure to check out Sirenicide, the serialized horror drama podcast featuring me and Archmaester Stitches. Go to sirenicide.com and download it wherever you get your podcasts.
We also want to give a huge thanks to Lady Lisa of House Sky, Pie Romancer. She is key behind the scenes in keeping our website Game of Microphones up and running. She's also an incredibly skilled artist. You need to check out her amazingly illustrated children's book, The People You May See, available now on Amazon.com. It's Prime eligible too, so you'll get it in a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, my almost 3-year-old, it's his favorite book.
Totally.
He loves the drawings. It's a great book. You have to go buy it. You can check all of her work out at fineartsbylisa.com. She's also on Facebook and Instagram.com/fineartsbylisa.
Next episode, we'll be covering Season 8, Episode 5, the penultimate episode of the series, the title of which is still unknown. Make sure to give it a watch and send us your thoughts. We'll also be coming on the air live immediately following the episode, so join us for that on Facebook.com/GoMPodcast and at YouTube.com/GameOfMicrophones. We'd love to read your comments live as we talk about the episode immediately after it airs. If you'd like to call us, you can always reach us at 813-JOFFREY. That's 813-563-3739.
If you'd like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOMPodcast.
Imp slap. Oh. You can listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit. Just search for Game of Microphones to find our channel. Likes, comments, and shares are greatly appreciated.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Minds at GOMPodcast.
And we're on Tumblr too at Game of Microphones.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Yeah, bitch, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. We're here to say goodbye to our brothers and sisters.
To our fathers and mothers.
To our friends.
Our fellow men and women who set aside their differences to fight together and die together so that others might live.
Everyone in this world owes them a debt that can never be repaid.
It is our duty and our honor to keep them alive in memory for those who come after us and those who come after them for as long as men draw breath.
They were the shields that guarded the realms of men.
And we shall never see their likes again. He asked the hound, he's like, have you seen Arya? And the hound's great response, you can still smell the burning bodies, and that's where your head's at? And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are aware he took my family's throne and tried to have me murdered. And Gendry's probably in his head like, oh shit. And he's like, I didn't even know him. I didn't know him. He was my father until after he was dead. Please don't kill me.
I'm sorry.
So you were taken in by this and lulled into a sense of complacency. Whereas
totally.
I was watching it, and the more people started smiling, the more uncomfortable I was getting. You know, like Brienne is like, like while they're doing the drinking game, just like hugest smile on her face ever. And I was like, fuck, like this is not going to be good. Something bad is going to happen.
We only
Great
get
lines.
the Hound and Bronn together right before the Battle of the Blackwater, right?
I think so.
I wish we could see more of those two together.
Yeah, that would be great.
The word cunt would have a whole, like...
It would lose all meaning.
It would lose
just be
all
said
meaning.
So much.
We have a Japanese maple out front.
Same here.
Nice.
Dude,
I love
we have
them.
so much in common. That's crazy.
I know. It's so crazy.
Creepy. Are you like
So-
stalking me or some shit?
Am I stalking
No, I'm
you?
just kidding.
I think you're stalking me.
Okay, I admit it.
Qyburn's weird.
Yeah, he's cool.
They were the shields that guarded the realms of men.
And we shall never see
never
their like
see their
again.
like again.
So good. Oh, that kind of rhymed. And then Tormund comes up as Bran's standing. We did it. We faced those icy fucks, looked them into their blue eyes, and here we are.
Now which one of you cowards shit in my pants?
pants?
Everyone's like, what the fuck? And I love Arya is like really honestly happy
Excited
for him. I loved the last that we're left with is like an image of him, and then it cuts away, but the last sound we hear is like an arrow, and I was like, oh, it's like an arrow through the heart.
Yo, that's so, but not like Cupid's arrow.
No, but it's like a death arrow.
Yeah, like more like Rhaegal's arrow. Too soon.
Oh,
super fucked up. And it's Hound and Arya Road Trip version 2.
Do you think they're gonna come across Nymeria?
At least they each get their own horses this time too.
There's a bug in my face.
Nice.
You know, if she basically using Cersei, I have to sneeze. Ugh. It's not gonna come, I don't think. Sorry.
Arya's goodbye to Beric and Sam. Oh, sorry. Arya's goodbye to Beric and Sam. Oh shit, sorry. Fuck. Arya's goodbye and Beric's to Sam. Oh my god, what am I? It must be like these fucking.
Here, put a comma there.
Arya's goodbye to Beric. Oh yeah,
and
okay.
Sam's to Ed.
Thank you.
It's okay.
We see seeds of conflict between her and Jon being sown now, although Jon tries not to get on the throne. But later, we get that, quote, the best ruler might be someone who doesn't want to rule, unquote. A reversal of, quote, any man who says I'm the king is no king, unquote. Good call. That's a great mirror.
Yep.
Excellent.
Wow.
Everyone in this world owes them a debt that can never be repaid.
It is our duty. I can't do it. I can't. For as long as men draw breath.
They were just... They were the shields that guarded the realms of men.
And we shall never see their likes again. Boom.
Bang.
I've traveled to a bunch of random places and random countries. But as a Midwestern guy, I recently have been falling in love with what the more rugged parts of America have to offer to all of us before they're gone. TEA MAGE Productions and Powers Media House presents Beautiful America, a musical documentary series with all original content. Explore the Southwest of America and indulge in some places you've heard of and plenty more that you certainly have not. Cooking under the stars and below freezing temps of Death Valley. 4K drone footage of one of the most insane monoliths on Earth. Driving in abandoned mines, cliffs, canyons, and wild times. Check it out. TEA MAGE Productions on Facebook and YouTube. That's TEA MAGE Productions. Beautiful America.